It's Turtle Time Trip. We're going to recap a trip. A housewives trip. So pack your bags. Well, little turtle cuties and Villa Rosa VIPs, we want you to close your eyes and imagine you just landed in Marrakesh. You're being picked up in a van and you're sitting in the back seat with Amy and I. And in the front seat is Ramona, Luann, Sonia, Jill, Cindy Barshop, and Alex McCord. Because we are about to recap the shit out of the Season 4 RHONY trip to Morocco. Now open your eyes.
Whoa.
Oh my God, we're here. I feel it. I feel like we're in Marrakesh together. Do you?
Ya Habibi.
Ya Habibi. Little Turtle Cuties and Villa Rosa VIPs, we hope you feel so much like in that Habibi spirit, like you're in Marrakesh and we just landed on a plane, because that's how I feel.
Oh, yes. I don't think I've watched this one in a long time. It has so many iconic moments that are just sprinkled throughout that, like, it's about 3 episodes and then there's one after, which is where we get Herman Munster's shoes. So 3 in Morocco and then a little bit of aftermath in the one after that. But it's like, when I was watching it at first, I was like, oh yeah, like I remember this, blah, blah, blah. And then something would happen. I'll be like, oh, of course. Iconic.
Yeah. Yes, I felt the exact same way. Absolutely everything about this trip is iconic in my mind. And it's because of, obviously, just this cast is fun to watch no matter what they're doing. I loved everything about this trip. I loved the pace of it. I loved how silly it was. I love that there's a completely different less produced, reality that they used to use back in the earlier days of the Housewives franchises, which you've talked about. And this was just so much like it seems so dated in the best way compared to the franchises that we watch now. There were just so many stray moments, like you just said, where I don't think that they would have ever made the final edit in a current season of Housewives, but they're all like some of the funniest moments I've ever seen in my life. Like just stray random Ramona, Sonia moments where they're just giggling and running around. And it just seems like it's much more like a documentary, not so much like a documentary, but just much more than the current era. And so it was very, very fun to watch.
Yeah, it's like when everyone is mentally unwell, you can just let them play and record and they say the craziest shit and act so off that you're like, okay, this is the show.
Yes, totally. And there were some great moments where, like, even like Ramona would go talk after the fortune teller to this one person that was in Marrakesh for no reason, Jill's friend. Okay. And like the camera person had to like go peer around a corner to get what Ramona was saying. And her conversation was like the most iconic conversation ever. And that was Ramona when she didn't even think she was being filmed. She's like, Luann tried to fuck Mario. He was flirting with Mario. And I was like, oh my God, that was just like 10 seconds where the camera person just happened to peek at Ramona and she was doing that.
True verite.
Absolutely. It was so much. I was just so comforted and watching it, and it just felt, I don't know, it really does feel so much different than our current era. And like you were saying a couple weeks ago, it's like they need to kind of go back to letting loose a little bit and not and playing with the format and the structure a little more, because like we've talked about, it's starting to really get pretty strict how they format these seasons. And this one was just like chaos was reigning in this entire time.
I've been binging Miami, which I think we will have talked about last week.
Wow.
The new one. But I really am enjoying it. But it is like, it's like Marisol's throwing an event in her backyard. So-and-so's having a mamacita dinner. Like, it's like everyone's having these like fake ass little events that only the cast goes to. And the episode, I think like, one ahead of Morocco, or like a couple episodes ahead, is them throwing the surprise party for Jill at that place, like Chez Josephine or whatever that I happened to go to last time I was in New York. And there's like 50 people there. Like, it's a real party that would have happened either way. And it's in like a real New York restaurant. It's like crowded. It's like, it's has so much energy that I'm like, that doesn't really like happen anymore.
I know, yeah, they don't do scenes like that anymore. And then you used to get the best reactions of people who weren't really in on it and had no idea what were going on. It didn't know what was going on, and so like it would provide that realness to a scene. And now almost every single event is populated with either fans or just one close friend, or worst case scenario, it's just the 7 or 6 cast members together at a party. That is like the worst thing you could ever do. Do you want to talk, well, since you just mentioned, maybe we talk about the dynamics going in, because I think it helps provide a lens for what happens on this trip. So if I remember correctly, Cindy Barshop is treated like absolute shit by all of the cast members. Luann and Kelly are okay with her. They're not being overly mean. Jill likes Cindy. I think she came in through Jill, possibly. But Ramona and Sonia are treating her like absolute shit. And they're purposefully isolating Cindy Barshop because they don't want her on the show and they don't want her to have any scenes. So, Cindy is going into this trip with knowing that she's been treated so badly, and she overreacts a lot on this Morocco trip, but I had to retain what happened to her in my mind to get her to this place where she had to confront Sonia because she was being treated so badly.
Yeah,
you know?
she's about to break. She's kind of a funny, I wouldn't say like audience surrogate, but like she's a normal person dropped in this like pit of beasts. And there's one point when they're at the dinner that they ride to on the camels where she literally just has to excuse herself and go outside, and she's like crying because she's just like, what's wrong with you people? Like, it's nothing that even actually happened. It's just like the dynamic and how loud and annoying and like interrupting and just like psychotic everyone is, like makes her go absolutely nuts, which I think would happen to most people. And I was like, oh, like, yes, like it makes sense that Luann and Sonia specifically, like to this day, and then like Ramona, except she's like a little too fringe anymore, but like these are 1 in a million psychos that can handle it. And actually that used to be and still kind of is Alex on this trip, but she has sort of gone to the dark side and decided that she wants to be buddies with Sonia and Ramona despite their horrible behavior. And I'm like, you're just cool with them now, even though you see that they're like absolute demons.
Yes. Yeah, and that's a great Alex needs to be talked about because after season 3, Scary Island, they had the bonding event of the century where now Alex is like has become Ramona's guardian angel throughout this entire trip. It is so wild and kind of dumb how much Alex is trying to treat like that she needs to be
like
Ramona's
a gentle
bodyguard.
Child. I'm like, Ramona's insane. Like, stop.
Yes. There's so many. There were so many just like iconic moments that I completely forgot about. Overall, so fun. Do you want to dip into it and start going through it?
Yeah. I'll just start out by saying shout out to Luann still being a snob in this era, and she puts on this air of an accent almost the entire trip that I don't even know. It's just like this like I guess it's supposed to give like elegance. It's not like I don't even know how to describe it. It's like somewhere between, like, it's not quite an accent, but it's like she has this little, and you can tell that everyone knows it because when they fight with her, they kind of do it back.
Yeah.
Like when she goes, there's one iconic line, which is in a bit later, but they get served dinner and she goes, that is a tagine of lamb.
Yes.
And I'm like, why'd you say it like that?
Yeah, she has this courtly sort of, I don't know if haughty is the right word, but a sort of just
Alex
lilt.
uses that.
Yeah, a little lilt to her accent or her voice as the sort of hostess of this trip. And then when eventually when her and Alex kind of have their tete-a-tete, Luann completely drops it to go to war with Alex, and it was amazing to see her kind of just completely switch from that hostess mode.
Back.
Yes, yeah, totally. It's great. Yeah, I mean, I guess any other dynamics. I mean, the other dynamics are just so entrenched that everyone would know. Like Jill is still on her back foot because of how she was treated in Scary Island era, and so she's still holding that grudge, which we'll find out later. I mean, it took her almost a full season to come to terms with how embarrassed Jill truly was from Scary Island. So there's a little bit of that, but other than that, I think it's almost self-explanatory what's going on here when they start the trip.
it is funny. Like, Jill is the least glamorous woman on the show, I think. Like, she's wearing like her travel sneakers, a fanny pack. Like, she has no air about her, whereas like Luann is like, Marrakesh, like, I've been here before. And Sonia's like, I was invited by the Grand Tsar in the 90s. And like Kelly's like, I've been photographed here. Like, everyone has sort of like a worldly way about them. And Cindy's just kind of like a respectable, normal person who's like cool and not traveling. But Jill's kind of like, what's that? What's this? Where's my Diet Coke? Like, I told them not to eat the meat. And you're like, can you like stop?
Yeah, she's in full blown just like tourist, I guess, tourist mode.
She has her digicam out at like every turn.
Yeah. I was gonna say, Jill, I find Jill to be pretty insufferable. I think I've talked about that.
I know.
That's
it's
Scary
like
Island.
Her versus Ramona. I was like, this is like the only time where I think Ramona is more sensible than you, actually. Like, I was like, don't make me agree with Ramona.
I thought so too when we watched their showdown later. Do you have any like, for me, I hate to say this, but like, I don't really, besides Casablanca, I don't really know anything about Morocco. So in terms of also just watching this as entertainment, I am also viewing Morocco through the lens of this trip, which is probably maybe not the best idea. But this is like one of the only examples I have in culture of Morocco in general.
I will say I checked the dates, and this was like at the exact same time as Sex and the City 2. And there's like a prominent scene in Sex and the City 2 where they go to a souk, and it just felt like they watched that and they're like, hell yeah.
So did the timing work out to where they could have
It was like a year later, I think.
RHONY was. Okay,
Yeah.
so they could have had Sex and the City 2 on the brain, and then that's when they wanted to do this. Because RHONY did start out as kind of an approximation of Sex and the City in the way, right? Like a reality TV version of that. So it makes sense that they would want to replicate something that was a plot line on Sex and the City 2.
Yes. I rewatched And Just Like That season 2 and forgot that there is a Bethany Frankel reference on it. So seeing it go in the reverse, I was like, the like universes are the same.
Yeah. Have you got to season 3 episode 1 yet?
Yes, I'm caught up completely. Well, I guess for the listeners now, I've seen the first 2.
Oh, that's amazing. What'd you think of the premiere?
Crazy. Aiden has got to go. And what they did with Rosie, I was like, okay.
Why does Aiden have to go?
He's like a manipulator. He's like an asshole. He's like forcing Carrie to put her life on pause for years and like making up the rules as he goes. And his weirdo 15-year-old son sleeps in the same bed as him. I'm like, that kid needs to get a grip. Put him in like a boarding school.
Doesn't he go out in his truck so that he can jerk off while he's talking to Carrie?
Yeah, it's disgusting. He like licks his hand and jerks it and he goes, "Here it comes."
Okay, so Aiden being manipulative, well, that kind of sounds like his off-screen persona as well, because he tried to manipulate.
You're never gonna get over this.
Because he tried to manipulate the creators of this show into writing him on the show because he wanted to make the fan fervor get stirred up to write him. Okay, so if Aiden's out, because I've always hated Aiden, just I don't like that actor, and I don't know him enough to think that he's a good boyfriend for Carrie. So apologies. Who do we have left? Because Mr. Big, famously, I gotta admit what he did. He
R.I.P.
bit the dust in the season 1, episode 1. Who does she have? Who can she bring? What's the fan favorite relic, canon, a canon figure that she could have come back into the fold? Because people go, what about what's that guy's name? What about Burger? And I was like, I don't.
The worst.
Did she have ever a good like? Is it only Aiden and Mr. Big that are really at the top fighting for the...
Give John Slattery another chance. Just piss on him. Like, who cares at this point, you know? He was like, just piss on me. I'm cool. I'm hot. Like, just do it.
Okay. How big of an arc did he have as Carrie's boyfriend?
It was only maybe 2 episodes.
So
maybe 3.
That's the 4th best boyfriend that Carrie has on her 7-season run.
One of the hottest ones. In the the 2nd episode of the new season, she hires a hot gardener who it seems like there might be something there. He's like a hunky gardener who's redoing her yard. I'll also say that this is my last comment. She's being very willy-nilly about her cat getting out, and it's stressing me out. she put rat poison in her garden and her cat keeps getting out. And I'm like, are they going to kill this fucking cat? And then the cat escapes and the hot gardener finds it. And I was like, okay, that better be the last time this damn cat gets out. Like, you live in New York City.
Yeah, I know. I couldn't even imagine that. So they're kind of setting the seeds for maybe you would think that there'd be some harm that's going to come to that cat, but maybe it was just so that a save the cat moment could happen with that boyfriend, and now it's going to be like he's perfect. What about that dog?
Why are they teasing with the rat poison? Like, that's so gnarly.
Yeah. Whoa. What about that storyline about the dog that meets in the park, and that whole dog that meets in the park. I don't forget which cast member that is. Charlotte, where her dog's been beating up other dogs in the park. Do you know what I'm talking about?
You mean on the new one? Yeah.
Yeah, I was like, oh my god, that was like one of the worst storylines I've ever seen in history. But anyway, all right, let's. Why are we talking about sex and just like that? Okay, this Morocco starts out. I loved how it started because they don't do what they do now, where it's a cast trip starts in the final 35 minutes of an episode, and then it's structured through 4 episodes. Now it's like, no, this is 3 parts. The trip is fully in these episodes, and it starts out with them flying. Luann first learns that what Ya Habibi means, which it means darling. And that is going to be something that is in Luann's lexicon for the rest of her life. I mean, up until now at her current shows where she's touring around.
Yeah, there's some lines in this episode that, when I saw her a month or 2 ago, she was saying all this shit still. But yeah, I remember being obsessed with Ya Habibi at the time. Like, it was in my wheelhouse for like a year after I saw this.
I got to remember how to say it because we're going to be saying Ya Habibi, right?
Ya Habibi.
Ya Habibi. Yeah, she loves it so much.
An Elphaba thing for you.
Oh, yeah, I know. I'm like I'm going to
Ya Hab.
I'm gonna blow it completely.
Yahabi.
Yeah, Kelly's demeanor this entire trip is this is a trip of a lifetime. She says it about 9 times. She goes, "Stop talking, stop fighting. This is a trip of a lifetime," and she says it right up at the very front on the plane.
Yeah, she has her shit together a little more, just because she's not the victim of this trip, but she's still exactly as insane as ever. Like, makes no sense. Weird way that she talks to people. She's just a strange person. She's eating jelly beans at one point, so that's really just her thing. She's when the way she talks to Alex later, I'm just like, what is your problem? Like, it's so weird. I'm like, you actually deserved Scary Island. Like, everyone reacted to properly.
Yeah. All she does, I mean, I'll step on it a little bit. She just says to Alex, she goes, "You're weird. You're so odd. You're not normal. You're being so weird right now. Alex, you're being really weird." And she
Stop
says
being weird.
She says it 100 times, and it's like, Kelly, I mean, if I remember correctly, you were sort of accused of that last season. You had some odd behavior that everybody remarked on. I enjoyed, Kelly is not, I don't think Kelly's very fun. And I don't really enjoy her very much on RHONY at all. But her 2 moments where she went head to head with Alex, I actually thought were really were really funny in a way, because I've never seen somebody treat another human being like that, like she does for Alex.
Yeah. Is this her last season?
Yes. After season 4, I read Diamonds and Rosé, or Not All Diamonds and Rosé, and Andy said he basically admits that he thought this cast was awful, and there was such a horrible divide at the season 4 reunion that he thought could never be fixed. Also, he acknowledges that Jill was a monster behind the scenes. Kelly was dead weight, no offense. Alex McCord has run the cord out on her legacy by this point, being reduced to sort of just this like ride or die ally of Ramona. And so that's when the biggest cast shakeup in RHONY history happens for season 5, and introduces the Carol and Heather era.
Right.
So this is like the final gasp of the first iteration of RHONY, because post Bethany, Cindy Barshop was supposed to be the Bethany. She does not even come close to touching, no offense, but she doesn't come close to touching Bethany's legacy. And so that was when they needed a major upheaval on this cast. Okay, they're all on the plane first, and then Ramona and Sonia and Alex are joining second. That's the clear divide of the entire trip.
Yeah.
It's so clearly, this is an overall note. Ramona and Sonia are trying in a way to sabotage Luann's trip, because the true Cold War on RHONY is Ramona and Sonia, or I will just say Ramona versus Luann. And everyone else is sort of collateral damage, and the Jill stuff obviously matters. But I think Luann and Ramona are truly the two heads of these rival factions. And so everything that Ramona does, as annoying as she is, and she is so annoying and rude and treats people like shit. But a part of me was like, I think that you're doing all of this wild stuff that we're going to get into because you don't want Luann to get the trip of her dreams that she planned. So you're sabotaging it, pulling cameras away, being awful, trying to ruin the different events that Luann set up. And so that's a constant dynamic throughout this entire trip as well.
Yes. Okay, so we pull up to the Riad. It does look beautiful. It's like really cool. Luann claims that Brad Pitt just left. That's how hip and cool this place is.
What if he was leaving right then and they got to get him on New York?
I guess he had feral.
Yeah, I guess he had just left. Like a couple days before, they say.
Yes. On the way in, we immediately get the warning that Ramona and Sonia are going to be a huge pain in the ass. Ramona's like, I need my comforts. I need my white cotton sheets, my feather pillows, my Pinot Grigio at all times. And they're driving, and she's like, I'm going to need the staff to unpack for me. They're talking shit about the surroundings. They're like, this is not a very upscale area. They're like, look at all this poverty. And we get the clue that Sonia is out of her element. She usually only goes to Saint-Tropez and Milan. And which is kind of interesting because it comes out throughout this entire trip. She's terrified of security, her shit getting stolen. She's scared of the camels. She's scared of like the food. She's like worried all the time about where they are, who's around, how much security they have. And it's like, you're always bragging about being the most worldly person in this entire group. And she was like, it was as if like my mom was like in Egypt or something. Like, I'm like, can you like relax? Yeah. She admits at the end she has to tell everyone. She goes, I'm actually not that adventurous. I don't like anything like this. She says. So they're really worried. They're making fun of obviously the poverty they see. It's horrible because like there's like a driver there who's like listening to them. It's like it's like borderline intolerable the way that they act around these people. Like, some at times just like literally straight up racist, where you're like, I fucking hate you guys. Like, I hate you. Like, Jimmy like left the room during like, I think it was like the designer part. I was like, it's intolerable. It's horrible. Yeah. Pretty awful. Alex McCord, this is when she tries to distinguish herself from her best friends, her RHONY best friends, and say, like, I can't stand when Sonia and Ramona talk like this. Part of me, though, I'm not giving them any benefit of the doubt, but I do think 10% of this, in addition to their awful behavior, is also to make Luann look like shit for planning a trip that's not in a fun, what they deem a fun, upscale place. So they're like really trying to show the viewers, like, look at this. Wow, Luann really brought us out to Marrakesh. What the fuck is this in the
with
middle
donkeys?
Of nowhere.
And
But they always do that. Remember, where is it where she wants to go to Bagatelle? And she's like, I always go to Bagatelle. I want to go to Bagatelle. And like, no matter where the trip is planned, she wants to go to the place that she likes, regardless of if it's rude to the host. It happens on every single trip. There's always like the room drama and then her leaving to do whatever she wants to do. Yeah, you're right. I cannot defend any of Ramona's behavior in this episode. I'm just trying to imagine if she's playing it up just a little bit more this entire time to make Luann look like a bad host, because she secretly hates Luann. Luann has a lot of pride for this trip, clearly. Like, she's really hosting. Like, it's not like one of those things where this is technically my trip, but like production planned it and the person in charge has nothing to do with anything. Like, Luann is like carrying so much glory about where they're staying, that she's like specifically brought them to this place because she loved it when she came before. Like, she's like hosting. Yes, really took that role on. Like, the hangar issue, she's like, I need to solve that. Who needs a drink? She planned all of this stuff. She takes so much ownership of it. And that's why actually she gets so pissed off towards the end when Alex tries to
tell her that she wasn't being a gracious host to them. That really pisses Luann off towards the end of this thing. Okay, they arrive. Sonia, again, she has to tell us how scared she is. She goes, I've been even to Buckingham Palace, and you don't leave your suitcase with a guard, one of those unsmiling sort of guards that you can't disturb. She goes, they'll steal the shit out of your, anything out of your luggage. And I was like, at this point, it's like, okay, right, okay. People possibly steal when you arrive in another country. But she knows that there's people watching all of her stuff. And also, what the fuck did Sonia bring on this trip that anyone in the world would want to steal? I mean, jewelry. I didn't see anything notable that she had to be so like worried about what they were going to steal. I just think it was kind of ridiculous. And she's so nervous that when they arrive, she can't think about anything else. She has to go back to the car, and there's this guy standing here, and she has the most awkward conversation I've ever heard in my life. She goes, so you're standing here, right? And you're kind of like, what would you say? You're kind of like watching the stuff over here? And he's just nodding. She goes, yeah, it's just because I went to Buckingham Palace once, and one of the royal guards did sort of steal from me. And he's just like, I don't know what you're talking about. He doesn't even speak the language. It's
She's
like, obviously
talking in like weird, like simplified English with like a weird accent that she thinks he'll understand better. And I'm like, just please.
Yeah.
Like, if you want to grab your shit, fucking grab it then and bring it inside. She just keeps like going to the car to see if anything has happened. Yeah.
And Ramona then instantly becomes like this sort of hurricane of do everything for me. She's like, who on the staff is going to help me unpack? Who is going to, she needs a Pinot Grigio probably the minute that she arrives. And then I know that this is a trope with Ramona, but watching her actually corral someone to do her bidding and unpack her lingerie and clothes, I was like, has anyone in the history of the service industry ever done this for a guest before? I couldn't even believe it. I was like, what hotel or resort or anywhere in the world do you stay where you can ask the bellhop or whoever, some hotel employee to unpack your stuff for you? Did she create this?
I think that happens on like below deck. Like, I think it might be like a yacht thing. I feel like they help them unpack on the yachts, so she just like translates that to every place she's ever been.
I watched like 7 seasons of Below Deck. Maybe they don't even like show that anymore because it's taken for granted. But all of a sudden it renewed me with like, what the hell is this that Ramona is making?
She brought like every piece of jewelry she has, and she brought the display forms. So like they're all like tangled on these, like she almost brought these like the heads, and then they're all set up on her dresser with the jewelry displayed. I'm like, she's insane. And she brought her hand weights. The poor woman helping her looks so miserable.
Well, they had to provide the hand weights. So Ramona's rider was unlimited Pinot Grigio, never ending Pinot Grigio, hand weights, and then someone to unpack all of her bags, and then copious amounts of hangers. So, I mean, when you think about like rock star riders, I think Led Zeppelin had the green M&M claws. This one isn't that bad, but it's just it's way too far to make that person who never in a million years would have thought that her role was to unpack your bags, for Ramona to sort of be shouting orders to get that stuff done. Really awful.
It's awful. Then Cindy comes in during this unpacking, and her hangers have been taken from her room. She's pissed. She's like ready to fight immediately, which is like, this is really worth this much effort and energy.
That's where knowing Cindy's mindset going into this trip really comes into play here, because I don't even think that Ramona and Sonia stole those hangers. I watched this twice, and I didn't see any evidence that they did it. Like, I don't know what happened here, but I think maybe someone else took hangers from that room to provide them. But Cindy's on I forget, she's just very, very sensitive to being mistreated by Ramona and Sonia. So that's what causes her to create this conspiracy in her head that they're like demeaning her by taking her hangers away from her. And she tries to stand up for herself.
Yeah, pretty much every fight she picks on this trip is for the dumbest shit you've ever heard. So then when they actually go back and forth about it, you're like, there's no meat on this bone. Like, if you want to talk about their larger problems, you can do that, but it's always about a hanger or like a seat on the bus or like something so dumb that you're like, this sucks.
Yeah. If you just watch this trip isolated, you'd think that Cindy Barshop was like one of the worst cast members of all time, and she's picking petty fights just to create drama. But I do think Cindy was legitimately aggrieved by all of these decisions because she thinks that Sonia is treating her like a piece of shit. So she's trying to push back, but all of the instances, unfortunately, are worthless. Just like you said. So then Ramona and Sonia immediately get to laugh at Cindy. They're like, I don't know what the hell is going on. Cindy goes back down to Luann and says, hey, they're taking my hangers up there. It's pure chaos. They got 6 of my hangers. And then Luann goes, oh my God, there's a hanger emergency? Let me go up and see what's wrong. Because this is her first sort of hosting emergency she has to take care of. And then when she goes up, Ramona and Sonia are just kind of laughing. And they're going, I don't know what the hell she's talking about. And Luann goes, well, I think Cindy really blew up Hangergate. I have no clue. This was the easiest thing in the world to solve.
Yeah. Ramona is like, she needs a hanger up her butt.
Yeah. One thing I do want to say overall is that Luann, you could tell, this is me deeply psychoanalyzing, but I think that Luann likes her crew. She's the leader of this crew over there, but she pines to be in the Holy Trinity, of which Ramona, Sonia, and Luann become, obviously in later era of RHONY. Luann is kind of like, I got a motley crew here. I love them. They listen to me. I get to sort of like, do whatever I want over here. But there's a longing to be a part of Ramona and Sonia. Do you sense that a little bit?
Sit with Kelly and Cindy all day.
I know, and it's almost like Ramona and Sonia are treat people like shit. They're drunken nightmares and messes. They're rude. They're belligerent. All this stuff. But then the camera people and everyone, it's sort of like, well, we can't film Jill and Cindy right now. Yeah. We have to go there. And Luann knows where the action is going. That's why I don't know if we're ready to say this now, but this to me was one of the rudest things in the world. Yeah. Right when Ramona and Sonia arrive after Hangergate, they just get dressed and they say, we're leaving. We need to go.
They tried to sneak away. Like, they would like beat the cameras. They were like out at the car already. And someone told Luann because she goes running after them. And it's like, what the fuck is going on?
They say, we're going on a car ride to relax. We're in the mood for motion. We have to get in the car right now. And Luann is like, going, what the hell are you talking about? You just had traveled. We have
your welcome lunch. It's about to happen right now. Like, we're having lunch. And they're like, she's like, who relaxes in the car after being on like a 12-hour flight? They're like, the mood for motion?
Yeah, it doesn't make any sense. It's the last thing that anyone in the world would want to do after you did all that traveling. Could you imagine how good just a chair and a drink would be just sitting in the sun? But they decide to instantly make it look like Luann and Cindy and Jill are having the lamest time in history, and they want to actually have whatever they deem fun, and they don't even care that the cameras don't follow them. The camera people were probably like, what the fuck are you doing? They're like, we're not going to this, we find out, a 5-star hotel where they just have like their day that they want to have here, and it's to embarrass Luann, and they don't give a shit how rude it is to treat what she planned for them as shit, and they get to choose what they really want to do with their time. Yeah, and I get why Luann is so taken aback. She's horrified by this behavior.
Yeah, it's totally rude. So then she goes back and tells the other ladies, and they're like, what the hell? And they start to talk a little shit. And Kelly, I think, is maybe the first person to say that Sonia's house is a shithole. Yeah. She's like, used to being in her house that hasn't been redone or redecorated since the 1900s. And Luann's sort of like, no, like, she's like a woman of the world. Like, she lives well. And she's like, I don't know.
Kelly goes, no, she doesn't. I like that Kelly's shit talking. It's not like gossipy. It's just her true state of mind and how she feels. And it lands really, it's like, it's all kind of true. She goes, she was accommodated for by her ex-husband, and then now she has to downgrade to a certain lifestyle now that she doesn't have his money, and her house is in complete disrepair. It's not clean. It hasn't been renovated or whatever. And Luann's like, that's too far. That's too real. Please don't say those kind of things. And Kelly doesn't give a shit. She's like, no, she doesn't live well at all.
Yeah. I will say that Sonia's Grey Gardens comes out on this trip of, I always think of this line from Grey Gardens where, little Edie says, it's very hard to keep the line between the past and the present. And like Sonia literally like,
Yeah.
I swear she like gets drunk and like forgets that she's been divorced for so many years. Like later there's a thing where her and Ramona are talking about like infidelity and like separation and stuff. And she's instantly crying. She's like right back in that place. She has like flashbacks, like PTSD where I'm like, do you know where you are? Like it's kind of crazy.
Yeah. Yeah. Ramona tries to call her out later when she's like talking about her ex and stuff. And Ramona's like, that's not really relevant right now anymore at all. I don't know what you're talking about.
Which is like a through line, like all the way through to Dorinda being like, well, John's dead. So we're not talking about that. Like she's always just like acting like everything that she's ever done is relevant to the current moment.
And it is so Grey Gardens in a way, you know, too, because probably Sunset Boulevard also, where you had this golden era and then you just can't detach from it ever. And everything has to be compared to when you were living this life of luxury. And I don't remember if the Grey Gardens, they had a wonderful, you know, wealthy childhood, right? And it's only that then later in their life do they come upon hard times.
Yeah, like I think little Edie could have, you know, could have been a star. She was like engaged to like a wonderful man, and then she ended up having to live with her mom and like never escaped that codependent relationship, and then they never had any money again.
Thank God that I haven't had a golden era in my life that I ever have to look back nostalgically on. I hope my golden era is in the future because God damn, you should see how I'm living. I love my, you know, my family and my house and everything, but I'm never going to have a thing where I'm like in my 20s, I was rich as hell going to Chateau Marmont. Like it's kind of a bummer. Peaking early, like people who peak in high school, no offense to anybody who peaked in high school, but I was so glad that those weren't the best years of my life.
Right. Yeah.
Okay, I have to say this before we move on. I just have to set some context. I find Brad, Jill's friend, to be one of the, I'll just say, lamest peripheral figures in Housewives history. I don't remember too much about him, but I remembered when I saw him that I do not have a good association with Brad at all. And that view of him was completely solidified again when I found out that he hopped over to Marrakesh as quick as his little legs could get him there. And he had to say, hey, to Jill, I happen to have a huge home in Morocco, so it's kind of perfect timing. I'll be in and out from my home in Morocco. It might just sync up, and I'm going to bring my good friend Danielle to be there with me. And it's just the most ridiculous attempt I think I've ever seen for someone, not even a friend of. Yes, not even a friend of. What would you even call him? He's not a friend of. He's Jill's real life friend.
Yeah.
We see these figures in the Vanderpump Rules universe. I'm not going to name them, but this was the most shocking way for him to get on camera, and we find out very quickly. I don't know if we want to step on the reveal, but I'll just say he's not telling the full truth about his life in Morocco, but he instantly invites all of them to come to his house. He goes, I forget what he says. He's like, I've been traveling the world.
It's my birthday week. Where they're like, okay, so yeah, let's just say it all right now. He's like, he meets them out while they're shopping, almost as if it's a coincidence, but it's not. Yeah. But like, he's like, I have a house here. We're having a party for my birthday tonight. And they're like, it's tonight? And he's like, yes, you should come. It's tonight. And then when they get there, Jill rats him out in her confessional and reveals that it's totally an Airbnb or like a B&B that like other people are staying at. Like he just rented like the common area to throw a party. So does that mean he literally doesn't have a house at all, or that the place that he does have isn't nice enough that he wanted to show? You think he doesn't have any association to Morocco whatsoever?
I believe he does not have a home in Morocco at all. I believe he completely lied his ass off. And the fact that Jill doesn't know whether or not he doesn't have a home in Morocco makes me even question the legitimacy of their friendship. Also, Brad starts to create drama in this shopping scene where he says, Ramona was not nice to me at the Polo Bazaar or whatever that I went to one time. He has this complete like starting shit with Ramona plot line that he wants to get in there, and then he completely eats it when they get to it. We'll talk about that later when we actually get to his Airbnb. But he completely doesn't say one thing about that, and like basically bows down to Ramona when she gets there.
He's like, "Hi, darling."
In every way, this is one of the biggest flops I've ever seen in my life. You can tell he's actually getting red and embarrassed as he tells these lies. And I'm gonna say this: there's a possibility that maybe he does have a house that's being renovated
like
in Marrakesh, but I thought it was a full talented Mr. Ripley lie, absolute lie, just to get on the show.
That's like scary.
I know. If I find out, then Brad, I'll give you a big credit. I'll send you a gift basket for lying on a podcast. But I didn't. I really thought that he was the type of person that would, just to get on the show, make up all those lies. But before we get there, they're back at home. They want to get ready for Brad's birthday bash at his Marrakesh home. Sonia and Ramona, they are back. They're drunk as two skunks. They're giggling upstairs. You can hear them giggling. Kind of like Grey Gardens, a little bit. Like, they're giggling upstairs. And Luann goes, come on. Like, in a way, she's saying, let's have the trip together. You just were gone for 4 hours. Can you come downstairs? Sonia goes, oh, Luann, yeah. We'll be right down. And then Ramona pulls her away so that she'll have to go back in the room with her. So Luann is just like left there embarrassed. Like, she can't even see Sonia anymore because Ramona is trying to take such ownership over Sonia to completely separate these groups. I thought that was sad.
Yeah. So at the 5-star hotel, Ramona's like, we had rosé champagne. It was amazing. And then she's like, and we come home and the other girls are just sitting around like bumps on a log. Like, she's like, this place sucks. They're boring. We had fun.
Got to give Ramona a little bit of credit there. If there was a log there and Cindy, Kelly, and Jill were sitting on it,
giving bumps.
You could argue that those are 3 bumps. Luann is not a bump on a log. Luann proves herself to be one of the most valuable cast members in Bravo history just from this trip. But I would classify, if I was, here's what I'll say. This is in all honesty. If I was on this trip, I would be not doing everything that Ramona and Sonia do in terms of how they are so disrespectful to the culture, but I would be wanting to have the fun that they're having. I would want to have... I'd be Alex. I would be hanging on for dear life, being like, Ramona, what do you need me to do? I want to catch that wave, because that's, for me, that's where the entertainment is. Luann, Sonia, and Ramona, which is proved out throughout the legacy of RHONY that those are the vital cast members. But
it's like Luann became more like them, which is apparently her true self, but it took like 10 years to get there, because she's like holding on to dignity still at this point. And then cut to now on Love Hotel, she's like walking around in a bikini, like ripping cigs, like her voice has gone down like 10 octaves. She's just like, hey, like, what are we getting up to tonight? And you're like, oh, like, that's what you really wanted to be.
It's true. It really is. It's one of the more interesting evolutions in Bravo history, is how Luann becomes, the tried and true friend of that group. And then obviously Dorinda really shakes things up, and it becomes a core 4 eventually. Yeah. Okay, this is another very rude, awful scenario in which I think Ramona is not only incapable of thinking that a Moroccan designer who would come into this world would be competent or world recognized. So there's immediately a disparaging of this person's work because it's a Moroccan designer. Luann goes, I've got the biggest gift of your life. You got to get down here. I brought one of the best designers in Morocco to create custom caftans for all of you. And then Ramona, in addition to disparaging this person and not considering him a real designer because he's from Morocco, that's probably the simplest way to say it. Also, she wants to, I think, embarrass Luann and treat this like this gift or segment of the trip sucks. And so she's saying, I don't like caftans. Can you make one sexier for me? Caftans are so ugly and hideous, basically. This sucks. And then at one point, she doesn't think that the designer is capable of keeping all of their measurements and styles in mind. And so she has to immediately go up and sort of confront him and test him on his knowledge by speaking this awful, horrible French right in his face. And he's just being treated like a butler at this point, which you know, and that's because she's so ignorant culturally and doesn't treat and also just generally doesn't treat anybody with respect pretty much.
But it's like particularly just
I agree.
Egregious here. She's like, excusez-moi s'il vous plaît. She's like, are you writing our measurements down? And he's like a quiet man who like probably is having a hard time understanding her horrible French, and which I also love that everyone's French comes into play. Like it turns out at least like 3 or 4 of them speak French, which I'm like, yes. I'm like, that wouldn't happen anymore. Like that's like the women of the world, even though it's like to varying degrees. It's
amazing. We'll talk about it when we get there, but we should just say now, you find out that Kelly has like almost like a perfect command of French.
I don't know if her husband was French.
Yes, she is the best translator. Luann is second best. Like but Kelly is so much better at translating French that you find out, and then it's amazing that Sonia
is like absolutely full of shit.
But she does. There are moments where she understands French enough to be like, she hears it at the same time as Kelly and Luann, and she processes it, but I don't think she can speak it, and maybe she doesn't understand it well. But even just like you said, just the 3 of them having even some sort of command of French is incredible.
I think Bethany speaks French.
That's it's amazing. That was like such an underrated little aspect of this trip when they get to the okay. I can skip through this really quickly. The worst offense they do to the designer is they say that we want to fire now. Ramona is basically just spewing demands. Like, I want a Pinot. There's no help here. Where's the snack? Can that designer come over?
Caftan. I don't like the caftan look. I want like a neckline that like blah blah blah.
I'm trying to look sexy. I want to look sexy. Which one of you can put a bump on a log? I think that designer can do it. And then everyone is like, Alex is like, that's too far. It's like, no way should this person.
She's literally about. I think she does ask him. She's like, can you do it? Can you put a log on the fire? And Alex is like, I'll just go fucking get the log. Like, Jesus Christ. Like, it takes forever to find someone to ask to do it, whereas I could just go grab it from the hallway. And Sonia's like, this is a big house not to have any help. We need a bell, which is like her snobbery, where I'm like, Kelly's right. Like, you have to hire interns who you don't pay to run your house because you don't have any help. So, like, why are you acting like a lady of the manor, you psychopath?
And a little, I'm, I don't want to give any excuses, but is a part of like Sonia's demeanor like that she thinks that what we've come to expect at this era of Housewives is that sort of glimpse of luxury, and for us to I don't know, enjoy or get some secondhand entertainment from seeing how people at that upper scale of life operate in these kind of conditions. Because you can almost see that Sonia was being a little performative when she was talking about, where's the bell? If you want good service, you used to just knock the family ring on the table. You know what I mean? I know she actually does have that snobbery, but I was also wondering how much she's playing it up as part of like, this is supposed to represent the ethos of snobbery as well on this trip.
I felt like both her and Sonia, the way that they went to the 5-star hotel, they were acting like they should have been staying. Remember when Beverly Hills went to Dubai and they stayed at like the most expensive presidential suite in the whole world that has the aquarium in it, and it's like the most insane place you've ever seen. Like, I think they wanted that. And it's like, okay, well, you're on season 4, babes. Like, that's going to take a while before Bravo has any pull.
I agree. So that ends, that little kind of embarrassing moment ends where Ramona treats the person like shit, and then they decide to go out on the town and walk through an area of Morocco. They get dropped off, and then they are going to go to Brad's party. right now, right? This is like in the center of town or something where
Yes.
they're going to supposedly Brad's house.
Whatever it is.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's like kind of a cool party. Like if I was in Marrakesh and I ended up at a party like this, I'd be like, this is nuts. Like he kind of gave them the whole experience.
Yeah, no, totally. He goes, when they arrive, he goes, welcome to my kingdom. And then they immediately see that there are people that I guess don't seem like they're Brad's friends, and then we come to learn that they are probably just other Airbnb, not Airbnb, bed and breakfast guests. And then Jill is the one, she says, I knew that this guy I hang out with, Brad, had a history of exaggeration, but he could have just told us that this was a bed and breakfast. I asked for a tour of his home, and he said, you can't go in any of the rooms, there are people sleeping in them. So it's like she busted him completely that this is not his house within 1 second of her arriving.
Yeah, it's very strange. And he's pulling the Luann here where he's hosting, and he's like, we have more Pinot Grigio than you could ever want. Like, boys. He's
And
like
he's-
snapping. He's like, garçon.
And he was so deferential to Ramona. I've never seen anything like it. For someone who said, I hope she slips on my floor and dies in that shopping scene, he then goes immediately to be like, how much more Pinot Grigio can I get you? Oh, Ramona, it's so good to see you, kissing her on the cheek. I was like, damn, at least keep your shitty fake storyline for the Airbnb where you're going to bring her to. He was like, no, wait, that was probably fake and not real. So now I want to play my cards right with Ramona because I want to be a cast member so bad. So I'm going to kiss the ring in this moment. And then
Also,
go ahead.
Sonia's fucked up by the time they
Totally.
get there. She makes no sense. Just upon arrival, she's like, when Brad is like, I'm sure we have some Pinot Grigio, Sonia like mutters to herself, she's like, maybe a Chardonnay, and Ramona goes, I hate Chardonnay.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Sonia is definitely the drunkest and just completely, gibberish the entire time. And also, Cindy tells us that not in the car on the way there, apparently Sonia made some reference to that pecking order tea scene that was a previous episode that we're not recapping. And that really sent Cindy in spiraling in a horrible mood towards Sonia again, because I think the way Sonia said something about the pecking order and Cindy. So Cindy now, a huge feud has erupted again with Sonia, but we didn't get to see the scene where that happened.
Right. There is a full-blown snake charmer, which I didn't quite realize was still a thing. There's like live music. The snake charmer puts the snake's tongue in his mouth. And at one point, there's a rattlesnake on the ground that has like goo dripping. And Sonia goes, is that venom or semen?
Yeah, she thought that after the snake, I guess, had kissed tongues with that person, that it might have started ejaculating, but it was from its mouth. And they're I didn't know what this instrument was, but they're blowing mesmars. They're doing all of the snake charming stuff. And Jill, I have to say, for sort of I consider Jill sort of a wet blanket. Is that kind of a total wet blanket? But she decides, hey, I'm going to let my bravery show, and I'm putting this snake all over my head. She goes, ya habibi, look at me with the snake on my head. I was like, damn, Jill.
I was surprised, too. They were like little snakes. It wasn't like the scary snakes, but she had them all over her face and on her hands, and she was like, ya habibi. I was like, okay, I'll hand it to you.
She goes, how can I be afraid of something that I wear as a shoe? And I was like, what does that mean? That doesn't make any sense at all.
Yes.
Okay, we're winding down to part one. I think that we did a lot of setup, and I think we're going to be good paced wise now because we're ripping through it.
I also wanted to point out that when they were dancing, that the only way to describe how Ramona dances is like Elaine, like she is like herky jerk, like she's just like. It's like the way she talks. Like there's like a little like abrupt, weird, jerky movements.
Totally. I love also the moment. We'll probably not talk about it, so I'll just say it now. But I love the moment when Alex goes, "I'm one of the first people to dance. I love dancing." And then you see Alex and the way she's dancing. I mean, I'm one of the worst dancers in the world, but it doesn't look like she loves dancing. She just is kind of like, and it's like, whoa, okay. I mean, yeah. Anyway, that's similar to Ramona in terms of dancing style.
Alex is an enigma for life. Like when on the following, like the episode after Morocco, there's a sequence where she tries on lingerie that Simon bought for her, and I'm like, I mean, I guess it's not a surprise that they're so horny for each other, but she's so not like a sensuous person in general that I'm like, it's really weird when you see that vibe. You're like, ooh, like I don't want to see that.
Yeah, Alex really surprises me. All of her actions really surprised me this entire trip. We haven't even scratched the surface of what Alex is going to go through on this thing. Okay, Brad says, I got a fortune teller. The fortune teller says some, Jill, you talk too much. Be quiet more. Sonia, don't date for money. And then the fortune teller starts whispering to Ramona, and Kelly hears it first. Kelly clocks it immediately, and it's that there's another woman in your husband's life. And Ramona goes, like my daughter, and they all go, oh no, I don't think so. I don't think she's talking about daughter here. And Kelly is she's hearing it all first, and she doesn't even want to say it. She wants to keep it to herself. But then once Luann gets in there, Luann is really starting to translate, and
she's
she
like,
says,
"Oh, I'll tell her everything." She's saying.
Yeah. Oh, and that's the end of that part, and then now we're on to part 2 because it kind of is a to be continued.
Yes, we're now into a Riyadh divided. The first episode was called Misfortune Teller.
Oh, right. Okay. Yep.
Yes.
Yeah, a Riyadh divided. Luann comes over, says something like, you're too nervous for your husband. And meanwhile, Kelly is translating perfectly. She's going, you are too much of a nervous person for your husband. And then Luann keeps going, no. No, it's not what she's saying. She said, you are a nervous type of... and Kelly's like, no, I can translate well. Just let me translate. And Luann keeps wanting to do it herself the entire time.
Yeah, because that would put her at the center of the scene. Yeah. They're basically saying that like her vibe at home sucks, and her husband, it makes Mario want to flee and get punani somewhere else.
Mario seems like such a piece of shit in this episode. I was like, he's a repellent figure.
It actually made me feel bad for Ramona for once, because she, to get ahead of it. So basically she's finding out here that, if she is to believe it, which you can see in her eyes that it resonates with her. Mm-hmm. When she gets back to New York, the first thing she does is like lay out rose petals and try to seduce him. I'm like, this is depressing. Like she's like desperate for his love.
Yeah, it's sad. I think that she feels in some way that he's got one foot out the door, and the pool scene that we'll talk about later where he's playing pool with Simon. I was just like, this is an awful guy. Totally. I never really liked Mario, because for me his bad qualities just completely overshadow anything good about him. I mean, he's not funny, he's not fun, he's not very interesting, so I never enjoyed Mario. So they're kind of Ramona is spiraling from this. No, she's not actually. She's trying to squelch this thing as much as she can, being like, I think it was my daughter. There's nothing going on here. But then when Sonia hears what the fortune teller was saying, Sonia instantly starts crying because she's drunk as hell, but also she thinks that this is probably true. And also, just a drunk person who's being like overly emotional about something. But it's kind of funny to watch her react in real time to the French and like start to sympathize with Ramona so much.
Yeah, they tell her, you're very accepting of what he does and you do everything for him. And Ramona agrees. She's like, I do too many things for him. I'm trying to change that. So that's the one, like, she'll throw them a bone on that. She's like, I do too much for him. Like, I'll give you that. And Sonia's like, you enable him. And everyone's like, what the fuck? And Jill is like, what does Sonia know that we don't know? And this is where we get that verite scene of Ramona in the hallway with that woman where she's like, everyone wants to fuck my husband. Luann, the first time she met him, was like, do you know how lucky you are to have a man like that? Anyone would want a man like that.
Yeah, I love it, because then it really it adds to how Ramona overall how she feels about Luann at this point. Like, she doesn't really fuck with Luann and considers her sort of a rival. So obviously her knowing that Luann was flirting with her husband makes her pissed. And she doesn't think that Luann is the best person to sympathize with. Like later in the trip, she talks about that.
And then you get a flyby of Jill gossiping with everyone, and she goes, I've heard Mario's cheating. I heard it from my crowd. So that's apparently well known at that point. Which, how long does it take for them to break up? It's like a long time. Right?
I really don't remember later era of RHONY, but like around season 7, do you think?
Because I think on this season is Avery's Sweet 16, and she's definitely out of the house when they get divorce.
Yeah, and then I think Sonia even says, don't you think that he's just waiting till Avery gets to college for him to leave you? And Ramona's like, what are you talking about? Please. Ramona is while Sonia is crying, Ramona tries to tell the audience and Sonia that, hey, whatever you're going through, that has nothing to do with me. You're not thinking some secret information that you know that I've told you. This is all in your head. She goes, thank you so much for your empathy towards me, Sonia, but whatever you're going through is not what I'm going through. So don't cry for me. And then the rest of the trip, Ramona does not want to talk about this. Multiple people bring it up to her, and she does not want this to be a part of her storyline at all the rest of the time.
Yes. Sonia, when they're talking about it, like she's crying about her separation, and she is waving her hand in the air, and she's like, I have gas. And I'm like, oh, she's so disgusting. And later, both of them have diarrhea, and it's like a whole thing. And I'm like, you guys like need to get your shit in order, because like every trip you go on, there's like poop on the floor. Like, I can't deal with you women. Like, it's not normal.
Yeah, just seeing Sonia say, I have gas, I have so much gas, and then wipe it away with her hand before she sat on the couch was one of the most disgusting, and also just so shocking, because you imagine that in this current era, and I feel like nothing like that would ever happen. Megan was saying when they were having that diarrhea scene, she was like, could you imagine this on like Beverly Hills? Like, they would absolutely never get to the forefront of what they've been talking about the last 3 or 4 seasons, but this was just par for the course back then on early RHONY.
So sick.
Yeah, it really was.
Okay, so yeah, Ramona's like, my marriage is great. I thank God every day. She's like, Sonia, your ex was married 4 times. I married for love. Not the same thing. And Sonia's like, I married for love.
Yeah. Yeah, and then and also like the Ramona's like, you knew that your husband had been married 4 times before. He obviously doesn't have a great track record. You knew you were cruising for a bruising, with him, you know, and you just completely probably married him for money.
Yeah,
he passed away.
Oh yeah, like last year.
Maybe
last year,
maybe a couple years ago.
Maybe it was this year. I am curious from people on the ground at the time what they actually thought of Sonia's marriage, because we never got a peek at it at all. Like, we've seen their wedding photos and the stories that she's told, and I never have been able to get a real read on what their relationship was actually like. Like, obviously they did a lot of stuff together, like traveling and events and like society stuff, but I'm like, she always claimed he was her best friend, and I'm like, is that true? Like, what? I want someone that was around them to tell me what their actual relationship was like, because I cannot picture it at all.
I completely agree with that. I can't imagine, I can't visualize for 1 second what their actual rapport was. Partly because I have no clue who the fuck the JP Morgan is it his great grandson?
I think so.
Okay.
Or maybe he's so old that it was just grandson. Maybe it was like, because I'm watching Miami, Lenny and Lisa, where they're around each other all the time, and she keeps saying that he's her best friend, and you're like, he doesn't seem like he likes you at all.
Yeah, and he works all of the time, and barely spends any time with Lisa. All right, well, so that's it for that night, and then it's the next morning, and then I just have to pop into this because it leads to some Cindy stuff. Sonia is saving a seat for Luann in the van before they go to the market, and Luann had asked Sonia, she goes, put my purse there, I want to sit next to you. Luann wants a scene with Sonia. She's been deprived of the core 3. She really wants this to happen. And then when Cindy comes in, Sonia goes, oh, I'm so sorry. I'm saving the seat for Luann. She wants me to save it for her. And Cindy goes, I can't. I can't right now. Let me sit where I want to sit. And Sonia goes, I'm sorry. This is where Luann wants to sit. She told me to sit here. And then Cindy is like, this is so childish. This is so awful.
Who do you think you are?
Who do you think you are? She makes such a big deal about it. Immediately, Jill and Kelly are like, we're out of here. We'll go in the other van. We'll make room.
I was thinking about it in real terms. I'm like, that literally wouldn't be a big deal. It's like, oh, Luann's sitting here.
I know.
I'd be like, okay.
Yeah, I know, and we already mentioned this, but Cindy just has such a chip on her shoulder, or whatever that is, to where she's extremely defensive about any of these little passive aggressive slights, that could happen. And so she makes a big deal of it. And then that gives Ramona and Sonia more fodder, because then when Luann comes in the car, she goes, "Thank you for saving my seat, darling." And they're like, and then when Ramona almost tries to pop in that seat, and then Sonia goes, "Sorry, Luann's sitting here." And Ramona immediately goes in. She goes, "See how easy that was?" And then Luann goes, "Wow, I asked you to save a seat." So again, this is now the second thing that Cindy has done that Luann's like, these are not big deals. What is going on with Cindy?
Yes.
You know.
And Cindy gets into it with Sonia while they're fighting, or while they're shopping, and she's like, "That was bullshit with the seats." She's like trying to argue in the souk, and is like bringing up their entire dynamic and like the pecking order and stuff. And it's just like, all right, anyways, like, shut up.
Like you said, this is not the hill to die on. It's like, it's a culmination of things, but it looks so lame when Sonia just goes, "Luann asked me to save a seat and I saved her seat." It's like you made Sonia look like a thoughtful, rational person, and her, because of you're making such a big deal out of nothing in that moment. Yeah. She's like, "I just saved a seat for someone who asked to save a seat. Why do you have a problem with that?"
Yeah. Okay, so then we go to the Camels, which they're going to ride to dinner. Sonia's immediately like, "As you recall, I was recently bucked off that horse when I was with Kelly, so I'm shaken up. I'm not getting on that shit," which I'm like, honestly, that's for the best. I don't trust you to grip that thing.
I said, that's a perfect explanation. Of course. I remember how bad she fell off that horse. It was like...
Yeah.
Horrible. She like landed on her neck. So I completely understood that. I have to say this camel thing was probably when I was starting my Bravo journey, whenever that was. I think this was the funniest thing I had ever seen up to that point. I watched Vanderpump Rules, Beverly Hills, and then I watched RHONY. And for me, Luann and the noises she makes and the entire bucking and Ramona looking at her completely filled with fear, Sonia running, everything about this is like one of the funniest things I've ever seen in my life. The dichotomy of Luann on a camel and everything that happens here is just so funny. And it was still, I was watching it over and over again. I love how they filmed it. I love everything about it.
It's amazing. So it happens like twice. Her camel tries to like get her off.
And also 3 times, because at the very end, the camel is continuing to buck and go nuts.
Yeah, the person that has to just have the leash with the camel is like getting basically dragged by it at the end.
I love how Alex sets it up perfectly. She goes, "I feel like we're in Lawrence of Arabia." And I was like, yeah, that's the perfect reference. I get it.
Say it.
I haven't seen it, but
if you recall Sex and the City 2, they had no choice but to say Lawrence of my labia.
They had no choice. If you've got Michael Patrick King at the computer, you have no choice but to make a reference like that. Lawrence of my labia.
The storyline is that Samantha almost gets banished and like beheaded for fucking in public in Abu Dhabi.
Wow. I'm sure that they're very culturally sensitive in that film.
Horrible. We have to delete that from the canon.
Is Samantha in it? But is that the one where? I'm sorry, Samantha. Yeah. Is Samantha the one where... Is there any scenes where her and Carrie are in it together in that one? Or does she come halfway through the trip?
No, they're together. I've certainly seen that one less than the first, but they're together, yeah.
I've said this before, but one of those movies, watch it again, Sex and the City 1 or Sex and the City 2. I think it's 2. I think they did some good creative stuff in 1. In 2, there is no scene in which Samantha and Carrie are in the same scene. It is so creative how they can put these two people in. They're not in one scene together, actually, because their feud is so... Could you imagine the feud?
I think it's probably the first one, because she's in LA for a lot of the first one.
Okay, yeah, it probably is. What's Samantha's real name?
Kim Cattrall.
Imagine a feud from Kim Cattrall. Imagine a Hollywood feud that could make you leave like $50 million on the table from refusing all of these Sex and the City opportunities. Like, you must fucking hate that person to your deep down in your soul. Like, it is so shocking to me. I don't know if there's any... I can't imagine another celebrity. I'm sure there's examples. Another celebrity that has just refused to work with another person and sacrificed that much money.
Especially because SJP has, from what I know, a good reputation. Like she's not like J-Lo or something.
Yeah, I mean, and you can almost see, it's like in Blink-182 when Travis went with Mark Hoppus, you can see who the odd person out was, who was treating them badly. They all chose to film with Sarah Jessica Parker. I heard that it was because Sarah Jessica Parker was deemed the producer and she got the credit, and she was the most famous at the time. So she immediately had such a leg up from the rest of them, didn't have to do nudity and stuff. And then when it became such an ensemble, that's when Samantha got really tired of
She didn't like
SJP.
fight for them the way she should have. But yeah, I just when I rewatched, it's inevitable. It's inevitable. I watched I think it's the finale of season 2 where we get the scene with Kim Cattrall on And Just Like That. All she does is talk on the phone for like 2 minutes,
and it is her voice, right?
It's her. Like they show her finally.
Right.
And in the first season, it's just texts, so they get to write Samantha's texts, but it's not Kim Cattrall. And then we see her in a car on the phone with Carrie for like 2 minutes, and she's like, "Sorry, darling, I can't make it. I won't be there." And I was like, the second she was on camera, I was like, I can breathe again. I've been holding my breath this whole time. Like, it really is like the flaw of the century that she's not on it. Like, it's. You would think like, okay, like you can figure it out, but once she's on, you're like, no, like that is what's missing, like completely.
No. Totally, I know. I feel the same way about any show where they like lose a cast member or recast, like Michael Scott not in The Office. It's like the show shouldn't go on once the central figure is no longer a part of it. It's just too awful. Well, okay. I appreciate that we talked about that. Okay, we are at the camel scene, like we already talked about. Yes. Sonia off the camel, and then immediately Sonia says, "Do camels ever trip?" And I was like, "This is like, oh my god, this is like a perfect scene." All of a sudden, you hear, "Whoa, whoa!" and then they cut, and it is the wildest bucking on a camel you've ever seen in your life. And Luann on the camel is just so funny. It's just so silly, ridiculous. The horror on Ramona's face.
Thank God she's in good shape. Like it was like being on the the bull at a bar, like literally.
Yeah, I want to play. I almost want to play her noises because they are the funniest noises ever captured in human history. It's just
an hour 10. Put it in.
You put it in. Okay, we're gonna I'm gonna record those things and put it in.
Sandra, did the camels ever trip? My God, Luann, are you okay?
A live one. Are you okay?
Hold on.
What happened? Something bad.
He just started trying to buck me off.
And then the minute she even could come to grips, Sonia ran. I don't remember that.
Fight or flight.
Sonia ran from this event happening. Ramona is so scared that her camel is also going to start bucking that it's going to create a trend among the camels. And they play that flashback of Ramona's face. It's one of the funniest faces in history, how Ramona looks when she looks back. Then the camel bucks again. Luann cannot get a break. And then finally, once the camel stops bucking, Luann, all of the nervousness and adrenaline or whatever rushes out of her body. She's so scared. She goes, "Oh my God, I am so nervous. I need to get off this camel right now." And then even as she's getting off with the people, the camel starts doing it again, starts to run. And she goes, "You're scaring me, boys. You're scaring me." Like she really thinks that this camel's going to throw.
You're like, maybe they don't have a great command of this beast, and can they even actually help her get off?
I've said this before. I had a bad mule when I ran around the rim of the Grand Canyon. I think I've said this before. I was on this mule called Big Steve, and every time the people saw me on Big Steve, they'd go, "Whoa, Big Steve is out."
They're like, "Not Big Steve."
They go, "Oh, somebody got Big Steve." And then I found out that Big Steve wasn't allowed to go into the inner sanctum of the Grand Canyon anymore because at one point on the trip, he was walking in the Grand Canyon in the center and he just laid down and he wouldn't move anymore. And the guest had to go on somebody else because he just refused to be in the middle of the Grand Canyon anymore. Yeah, so I had sort of a indignant mule.
I want to do that. That sounds awesome.
Yeah. Oh, doing around the Grand Canyon? Yeah. Oh, it's awesome. I mean, you are like in a flight scenario. You are putting your life on the line.
I'm going to go specifically request Big Steve.
You should. I hope to God, Big Steve. If you've been around the Grand Canyon on a mule and you got Big Steve, let me know how you felt. I hope Big Steve is still out there. But it's kind of a camel that decides, I don't want to do what you're doing anymore.
Yeah.
Get the hell off me.
Yeah.
And Luann just happened to have that camel that wanted to take a little bit of a break. The camel keeps having a reign of terror. It eats Jill's bracelet off, and then it's still bucking the scene ends with that camel just bucking the shit out of the person trying to hold.
Also surprising, again, gotta give credit where it's due to Jill, who never complains about riding the camel. Like, she's kind of like, this is amazing, you know?
Yeah, I think it becomes her favorite part of the trip, if I remember correctly. I mean, that would be mine.
Yeah,
riding a
it was
camel
really cool.
and the beautiful desert sunset to that tent dinner. Like, this
It
is
was awesome.
this is the coolest thing that Luann set up. Speaking of,
yes. So they get to this wonderful tent for dinner that's like really cool.
They start ululating.
Oh, yes.
I looked that up.
Yes. Yes.
That-
I think Alex is like, are we allowed to do this? Like, is this offensive? And I mean, I'll defer to their guide, who is like, I love Mustafa. He was funny. He
knew how to roll with them. Sonia says that her favorite part of the trip was Mustafa later.
He was great.
Mustafa goes, this is what women do when they enter back into a town or camp or something, and so they start ululating the shit out of it as they get into this tent.
Yes. So Sonia, of course, says, I haven't seen a tent like this since I was invited by the king of Saudi Arabia after the Gulf War. And I was like, wow. I was like, that's something you don't get anymore. Like, a reference to like being with royals after the Gulf War. I was like, that is some peak 90s housewives shit. I love that.
Yeah, it really paints a picture too. God, could you imagine if the last tent you had seen was when you were invited by the king of Saudi Arabia after the Gulf War to go eat dinner or whatever they do?
Sonia's probably been on a yacht with Saddam. Like, what has she seen?
Oh my God, absolutely. Why the hell is like the grandson of the Morgan family like meeting the
know.
king of Saudi Arabia? It's like, I'm sorry, I don't know who the hell you are. You're just a rich JP Morgan grandson.
Oh,
and
it's some down and dirty bad stuff. Like, it's not good.
JP Morgan, I gotta learn more about those robber barons or whatever the hell JP Morgan was doing, the bank guy. There was a railroad guy, an oil guy, the bank guy. They were just like these robber barons. God, I would want to be a robber baron though. I like this. Ramona goes, this tent, this experience is fantastic. Luann, you did such a great job here. I was like, that's probably what Luann has been waiting to hear for an entire day or 2 days. Really nice for Ramona to finally give her credit. They play a quick game. I have to say this. They play a very quick game where they say, Jill goes, let's play a game right now. Not truth or dare, not sex questions. Let's do one thing we don't know about you. They all go around the room, and Luann hates Alex so fucking much that Alex goes, well, one fact about me is that my father passed away from Alzheimer's when I was 11 years old. And Luann goes, what is with this Debbie Downer shit? Alex always misses the mark. And then she goes, in real time, Luann says, let's lighten it up, Sonia. And I was like, oh my God, Alex just said that her dad died when she was 11.
Is so sad. I'm like, what is the tea on that he had Alzheimer's when you were 11? I'm like,
maybe he's just an older dad. And,
yeah, I know. So I'm like, that's interesting. Like, I want to know more. Like,
No.
That's crazy. That sucks. And then at the end of the trip, they play like, what was your favorite part of the trip? And Alex again tries to open up and is like, when the last time I was here, I had a 5-week-old and I blah, blah, blah. And Luann goes, no, like, what was your favorite part? Like the camels, like the Riyadh.
Yeah, the henna tattoos that I got. Yeah, like she doesn't want Alex to talk for very long at all, and keeps trying to like reshape what she does. Okay, this is when they all start talking at once about a bunch of shit, like about Sonia being really scared.
Yeah.
Like and Luann's like, we have security all over, and like New Yorkers have this. I think New Yorkers have this. Apologies, New Yorkers, but like there's safe. You feel safe in the city at a certain point because you start to feel like there are people around you. I don't know. There's this one director. He's like kind of a New Yorker type, and he always talks about like going to the country and the forest is actually more nerve-wracking because you don't know what the hell could be out there. Whereas the city, there's door. You do.
Yes.
Yeah, when Megan and I moved to Pasadena, we were scared. Now I'm like, what the hell? We are like surrounded by neighbors. There are 100 people within half a mile of us. But we came from Echo Park, where it was just constant noise.
Well,
and
there's a fine line. I'm like, there's like a psychopath running by and ranting that makes you feel unsafe, and then there's dead quiet that makes me feel like I'm going to be murdered.
Yeah, in Echo Park, this is a true story. In Echo Park, in the Citizen era, the app Citizen, I would be walking my dog George Michael, and then all of a sudden Megan would call me, and she goes, "I just got a Citizen alert that there's a guy wielding a knife right around you, so come back home really quick." And I'd be like, "Okay, all right, George, come in."
It'll be like, "There's a man with a chainsaw. There's a man with a flamethrower," and you're like, "Oh, I was just there."
and that story is literally not an exaggeration. That is literally that happened.
Me and Silver Lake is the same thing, but
that happened. But then they're kind of, Luann goes, "Sonia, we're here for this thing," and then Cindy tries to relate to Sonia because she's like, "I understand what she's saying. Nobody is getting it," and then they all start to fight for to talk, and then that's when Cindy's got this thing on her head to be allowed to talk. She doesn't get to talk, and then Sonia goes, "I want to talk." So Cindy goes, "Here, I'll throw this thing." And they all go, "Oh my God, don't throw it. Oh God." And she goes, "You guys are so fucking over the top. I can't stand this anymore." And that's when she goes out into the tent and she just needs a break, like we talked about.
She's like, "No one respects anyone here. Everyone is so disrespectful to each other." And it's like, welcome to the Housewives, babe. Like, no, that's what you got paid for.
And I am someone that, like, I could totally operate in that environment, that chaotic, putting a thing on your head to talk, trying to get a word in edgewise, eating a bunch of food at the time. Like, I like that chaotic kind of energy like that. I am never the Cindy Barshop where I'm like, stop talking.
It's when they replace her with Carol. Carol is clearly like observing as an outsider looking in. Like, she's like, we are not the same, but she's clearly entertained by it, where, I mean, she will like correct them at times and be like, "That's rude," or like she ends up hating Luann and calls her out all the time. But you can tell when she's like out with them, she's like, "They're crazy, but like, this is kind of amazing. Like, what is this?"
Carol might be the best audience surrogate we've ever had.
Yeah.
She's like, she was perfect at it because all of her observations were amazing, whereas Cindy's are not very notable at all.
No.
Was Bethany supposed to be the audience surrogate in the first 3 seasons?
I think so. Which I think she is good at it because she wasn't totally nuts at that point, and she was like younger and more hopeful.
You're kind of on easy street as an audience surrogate. I want to be an audience surrogate on one of these shows. Like, whoa, that was wild what they did. Like,
like on Scary Island, Bethany is like the most clear-headed one who's translating what's going on, and then by the time she comes back, she's a little bit like. She's lost it. Like, she's like crying at all times. She's like going through her divorce. She's just like she acts like she's above it all, but I'm like, you're just as crazy, girl.
Yeah. No, totally. Yeah, she becomes more like an actual fundamental part of the cast and has a new role. She's kind of like the center. She's the hero ultimately, of the franchise. Okay, just one thing is that when Cindy is saying like, "I need a breath," like, "You guys are so crazy, I can't even stand you anymore," Ramona comes out to try to console her, and it's actually a sweet moment of Ramona trying to tell Cindy, "This is a tough group and I'm sorry we all talk over each other," and then Jill comes out because Jill has to be wherever the camera is. She goes, "Oh, y'all left, I want to be where the camera is too," and then Ramona goes, "Jill, I haven't seen you in so long, I know we haven't gotten to talk, you're one of my best friends, I love you so much," and he starts hugging her, and then Cindy's like, "God damn,
they
even
started
out here?"
Again.
Yeah, it's like you just got crazy within 5 seconds. You stopped talking to me and then had this new beautiful moment surrounding around Jill, and I was like, it was just kind of funny that instantly they go back to that chaotic energy once they're outside the tent as well.
Yes. The last thing I'll say about the tent, I already mentioned this earlier, but it's kind of an earworm for me and my friends. But again, when the food comes out, they present it, and Luann goes, "That's a tagine of lamb." And just the way she says lamb.
Yes. Oh my gosh. Yeah. I would have eaten that, I think.
Yeah. Well, Jill warns that if it doesn't start with a chicken or end with a fish, you shouldn't eat it. And I was like, I feel like you're pretty, chicken is kind of dicey too.
Yeah. I feel that way too. I didn't know that about Jill. That
she
never
also
eats
said
beef or
dried
pork.
fruits.
Yeah, because we'll talk about it right now. Actually,
Yeah.
They leave the tent. Anything you want to say before we get to the?
Nope. The next
Okay.
day, they're going to a hammam, like a spa, and Sonia and Ramona join late because they have diarrhea. Sonia says, Ramona blew up her room like a rock star. I've never seen anything like it. And I'm like, what the fuck does that mean? Like, oh my God, what?
Yeah, I mean, one of the funniest descriptions of anything I've ever heard in my life, to refer to her friend as blowing out her bathroom like a rock star, and to say that you've never seen anything in your life like it, is one of the funniest things I've ever heard in my life.
The visual that gives is...
Oh, I'm seeing it now. You don't have to say anything. I see it with my eyes open. I'm just like, it's one of the funniest sentences, observations I've ever heard in my life.
Especially because we have visual from the
course.
future Cartagena where there's literal shit on the floor and in the bed.
They have weak stomachs, I'd say.
My God, like, I can't deal. It's crazy.
Yeah, and then later when they go to the hammam, I'll just say it now. I was like, Ramona, get out of the pool. You and Sonia.
My God.
Get out of the...
You've seen every place you've ever been has people with active diarrhea cannot get in here. And she's swimming around. She's like, I love this. I feel so much better. And I'm like, you're like stewing your shit in the hammam.
That's why that's one of the only the three things that you know about a pool. You don't dive head first into the 6-foot part, and you don't have active diarrhea and go into a pool. I could not believe that she went into that
this might
hammam
not
like
even
that.
be chlorinated. Like, it seemed like more of like a natural style. So I'm like, it's not even chlorinated maybe, where it's going to sanitize your shit. Like,
No, and then at one point Alex goes, you got to dive in on the deep end with Jill pretty soon, and then she dives her head deep under the water that right next to Ramona.
Oh my God.
So that was kind of rough. And then is that it for the hammam? Nothing really else happens. They all go back.
Yes.
And they kind of set the stage, because Alex has tried to coordinate a Jill and Ramona, not confrontation, makeup, reconciliation. And so that happens right when they get home.
Yes.
And this will actually carry us to the end of part 2.
Yes. It does not go well. It's almost hard to describe because they just do not hear each other and just only say their side of the story basically the whole time.
Yeah, maybe I can summarize it first high level, and then we can sort of pick apart the like little examples of their fighting. But it's mainly that Ramona thinks that Jill is two-faced and talks shit about her a lot. And I do have to put in the context of what I read about Jill as being a sort of awful behind-the-scenes cast member. Like, she ruined her relationship with Bethany. She ruined her relationship with Rona. She was, like, demanding to get, like, equal time. She would call talk show producers and be like, why the fuck is Bethany on? You remember all those, like, anecdotes. And
Andy said she called him, like, constantly and would, like, roam around the Bravo offices, like, looking for him.
Jill is an extremely insecure person. You know, I hope that she's worked on this, but her insecurity, you just see it. I've never seen a more insecure cast member in my life, and everything that Jill does comes from a place of wanting to be the central figure and focus, and knowing that she might not have what it takes, and then lashing out because of that. So I fully understand where Ramona's coming from, but then I also have to understand that Jill, when Ramona talks about these slights that Jill has done, imagine the slights that Ramona has done to Jill. And like Jill says, you don't want me to just say all the minute shit, embarrassing, horrible stuff, like you calling Kodak a horrible brand at the actual party. You know, all that stuff. Like, if we get into that. But then Ramona wants to remain calm the entire time and just say her feelings.
Yeah.
But then Jill, like, it was like a trigger, like an actual button was pushed when they start to talk about the island. Yeah. Ramona goes, what island? and she goes, St. John's. And then immediately the calm that both of them kind of had, Jill was a little more antagonistic, but Jill erupts and starts screaming, and all of that embarrassment that she had from Scary Island just came out, and she's almost like crying. Her voice gets really high. She's so upset because she feels like she was the most mistreated person in history. Yeah. And as you and I have talked about, because we did a Turtle Time trip, we understood exactly why they all had that reaction to Jill in the moment. They were traumatized by what they had to deal with Kelly, and the last thing they wanted was Jill's odd energy coming in, and Jill still has not processed that properly.
Yeah.
She hasn't, even as a viewer, has not watched that and understood why their reaction was like that, which I found I was really confused that Jill hadn't properly assessed what had happened there, and they don't even mention that it was after Kelly's psychotic break that they even felt this way. You know what I mean?
I think it's like total ego where she says here that she thinks that that was her last chance to bond or reconcile with Bethany, and that Ramona exiled her from having that opportunity. So she's like, now Bethany has a fucking spinoff. She's bigger than anyone, and I fucked up my relationship with her before she was like the most famous person in the world. Like I was on the inside track, and now I'm out. By the way, she fucked up so bad that this is her last season on this show. So it went so fucking wrong. I'm like, I think she's like, if I would have known like the cards that I should have played when I could have made up with Bethany, when Bethany was begging her to forgive her. Like she was like, please, like, I love you. I want to be your friend so bad. She came hat in hand like multiple times, and Jill refused. Yeah. And I'm like, wow, go fuck yourself. Like Bethany sold her company for $100 million, got her own show, the first of its kind. Like, you suck.
Yeah. No. Yeah, it's true. We were talking about strategy with Lexi on Summer House, which is like the most low-level version of this. But like strategically, Jill just fucked up so bad. She's so lucky that this was the early era of Housewives where they didn't care. No, Jill got a free ride for a really long time. I mean, because she was pretty. I'd say overall, like I never really enjoyed Jill on the show. She led to some iconic moments, but Jill is really, it just represents her lack of Bethany in her life. And then Ramona says a very cutting, true thing, which is like, she lived next to you for fucking years. If I have a fallout with my friends, I go show up with flowers, go ring on her doorbell. You can't blame that shit on me. Ramona doesn't say it as concisely as that, but that's what she's saying. She's like, what the fuck are you talking about? You had every opportunity in the world, and it's not Ramona's fault at all that you blew it that big with Bethany.
She's also like, remember that I'm the one that hosted the thing that she came over to try and make up with you at, and Luann made you leave. And she's like, if you would have just stayed, I think you could have made up that day, which is like, that is the last straw, that time when Bethany's begging her and Luann's like, we shouldn't do this, get out. Like, she's like, Bethany's got to get out of here. Like, we can't have Bethany in charge. Get out. Like, Luann sort of sabotages it.
For it to happen on the show, but there is so much stuff that Jill could have done, behind the scenes to make it work. So blaming it on anybody within the actual franchise doesn't make any sense.
Yeah,
like, it's all on Jill.
That's what it's about, you know, like, truly, that's why she's so butthurt about it. And so then they just have to separate because it's going so horribly. Like, Jill is like screaming bloody murder, like, who do you think you are? If you don't say that you apologize for that and regret it, we can never be friends.
Yeah, and I really love that Ramona doesn't say that she regrets it. Yeah. Because, when we talked about Scary Island, like, we were completely on their side when Jill arrives. It was like the worst surprise in history. And so I'm glad that Ramona just says, I had guests. Alex was going through something. She wasn't good with you. Bethany's dad had just died. We had just gone through the trauma of Kelly, and I couldn't receive you at that time.
Yeah.
And so then they can't get anywhere. Jill is still kind of screaming on her way out. Ramona plops down on her bed and just starts crying. And the first couple times I saw this, I said, this is like overly dramatic and fake. But I do think that possibly there was the crying because she was like, why didn't she hear me? I feel like Ramona thought I was pretty clear-headed. I was pretty receptive. I went in here to have a truce. I tried my best, but Jill had such a button that I didn't know could be pushed, and she ruined this conversation. So I have a little tinge of this, the crying, these upset feelings over a lost friendship, but then for the rest of the time, she completely her feelings are completely overblown, and it's almost ridiculous how they all treat her going forward. But in this one moment, I was like, maybe Ramona did truly feel, upset. And then Jill, I know, felt upset. She goes, I'm about to have a heart attack. Jill hates confrontation. So the fact that she's just screaming for 5 or 10 minutes, she goes, I need to call Bobby. I'm about to have a heart attack.
I need a telephone. I need to call Bobby. Yeah. Okay, so this bleeds right into the third part. Last call, Morocco.
Are we ripping?
Let's rip. Jill is crying to Luann about the Ramona conversation. Luann's immediately on Jill's side going like, how would she feel if she were ejected from, like Luann is completely, and I'm like, Luann, you're the one that told her not to go to Scary Island. You know what happened with Kelly. So like, Luann's being a little dense about this.
Yeah, totally. And I just do not understand why Kelly's meltdown can't be referenced. It's like, it's one of the most iconic things that's ever happened on this franchise. Why can you not say we were a little disturbed by what we witnessed?
Potentially untouchable, like production wise. Like I think they're all like, we don't want to talk about that.
Yeah. And then this is when Alex's behavior truly becomes laughable. Yeah. So ridiculous. She treats Ramona like she's not treating her like a little child. She becomes her like blanket to hold. She is just so deferential to Ramona. It's like, oh man, I'm not going to say Kelly's word. It's just so odd to me. And she immediately is holding Ramona, clutching her, holding her head, going, someone get her a Pinot Grigio, hurry, please. And then when Luann comes in, she goes, get her out of here. We can't have Luann's energy. Come on, somebody has to get her out of here. And like Luann's like, what are you? This is in the common room. Luann can't come into a room in her own house that she rented and get a Pinot Grigio. They're purposefully, again, trying to remove Luann from any scene that has them three in it, and like stopping Luann from getting camera time or blending the groups in any way. And it's so ridiculous the way they treat Luann in the scene.
Alex gets like, it's sort of like what happened before. Remember, what Alex references at Scary Island, where she's like, when she came in with the kabuki makeup and she's like, I have a message. She does get on this like weird high horse when she decides that she's in charge of the dynamic of like, you will not be around her. She doesn't want to see you anymore. What you said to her was unacceptable. And it is a little bit like, I get why you'd be like, who the fuck are you?
Totally. I have to say, since we're talking about kabuki, so that seemed like such a wild, stray, insane thought from Kelly. But then when they reference Alex coming down, which we'll get to very shortly, they say she looked like Dracula. She looked like a witch. She had the dark energy of Bela Lugosi as Dracula. And I was like, you're saying kabuki or whatever. Basically, Luann had the exact same reaction. She's almost defending Kelly's like, wow, there is something here. But what it is, let's dissect this now. Alex is not good on this show. Mm-hmm. She's the embarrassing cast member that everyone has. So every franchise has someone that's really embarrassing. I think Drew is that on Atlanta now. I can't think of a lot of examples, but there's one that's just you get secondhand embarrassment from. That's Alex. And Alex has misjudged what value she brings on the show, and she thinks that she's the conflict generator and she should really go toe-to-toe with some of the other cast members. When she does it, she just flops like the biggest fish you've ever seen in your life. Yeah. Luann hands her ass. Kelly hands her ass. She's just not good at it at all. And so she almost has to put on this theatrical demeanor to get her ire up to compete in these scenes. And that's when everybody calls her out. Just be like, what the fuck are you doing?
You're weird.
Not you. You're weird. You're weird. And Kelly saying you're weird, it's like such a mean thing to say to someone. Like, it's so mean. But what Kelly is really saying...
Kelly doesn't have vocabulary, so that's all she can come up with.
Kelly is saying theatrical and inauthentic, and she tries to say that. But everything about how Alex... From now on, Alex does become an extremely theatrical person, and I do not believe that she's having any of these reactions to what is going on. This Luann scene right now, so I hate it because I'm just so... I think it's so lame of Alex the way she's treating Luann in this scene, and then Alex uses that and runs with that moment to now... to start to pit her against Luann and set up the confrontation that she's going to have with Luann later. She thinks that Luann was so insensitive to Ramona in that moment that she has to take her to task for it later.
Right. Yeah. I will say when Alex is holding Ramona to her chest and says, we need a Pinot Grigio ASAP or whatever. Like, I use that gif all the time. Like, it's like, can we get a Pinot Grigio?
Yeah, it's so funny. It's like she needs an IV drip because she's just been in an accident or something. Just the way that Ramona being coddled is inherently funny and they say it the rest of the episode. Ramona fucking will go toe to toe with anyone. She's the most outspoken, vibrant cast member there ever was. She doesn't care about confrontation for 1 second. She lives in the confrontation world. So the fact fact that you would need Alex as a bodyguard for anything is so ridiculous. And that's why it looks so silly in all these instances.
Yeah. So during downstairs, the Luann, Kelly and Cindy are getting henna. Ramona and Sonia are being frickin' frack upstairs, like giggling, doing whatever they do. And you hear Alex burst down the stairs, and Luann goes, "What is that? Is a buffalo coming down the stairs?"
Yes. I absolutely love Luann holding court in this henna
in her
scene.
salon.
It is one of the my favorite scenes in Housewives history. Upon rewatch, I just love how she maintains the energy and maintains control over this entire thing. And she's with the group that are the lame members of this crew. Yeah. She's got no backup here. Kelly is kind of like a sputtering, spiraling mess trying to defend her, but she's got Cindy there. I think she's got Jill there. She's got no backup, but she is just so...
Jill's not there yet because she's getting her hair done.
Oh, right.
So she misses this.
But the way that Luann, every piece of this scene is just completely dominated by Luann in every way during this henna session. I really love it. She doesn't even know who's coming down the stairs. You wonder why Alex is clomping like that.
It is weird. She's like, "Luann, I would like to have a word with you when you're done." Like she comes in so hot. You're like, whoa.
She comes in running.
Yes.
She throws her scarf back, and has a really distressed look on, like Ramona might have just been fallen in the shower and gotten hurt, drunk off her ass. Yeah. And then Luann goes, "What's wrong, darling?" Well, what's wrong? Because seeing Alex like that, you would think that an emergency had happened. And this is when Kelly, it's really funny to me. I don't enjoy Kelly very much, but how she acts around Alex, that's one of the most dynamic duos I've ever seen. Because she goes, "You need to do it again, Alex. That looks completely fake, totally lame. You looked so weird doing that. Everything about it was weird. The scarf was weird."
Re-enter.
She goes, do it again. Do it again. She's like, she thinks that she's directing this scene again, and that Alex blew it as an actor. She thinks that Alex is being theatrical like an actor, and she needs to redirect her because it was such a bad entrance. And then Alex has this dual thing that she has to juggle in her head, which is confronting Luann, which is probably very hard for her, and also being told that she looked fake as hell and lame as hell by Kelly.
Her face, like every time Kelly says something, her mouth is just agape, and she's like, "Oh."
Yeah. Kelly goes, "You're weird. It's weird. Alex, you looked completely weird. It's just so odd. Do it again." And then Alex has to say, "Kelly, please, give me a moment here, please." Like, she can't even deal with what Kelly is doing. And then that's when she tries to talk to Luann. And Luann has this demeanor where she loses all fun. And she just goes toe-to-toe with her from this point on. She's like, "Oh, you came to have a fight with me? Well, I'm going to hand you your fucking ass right now for the next 10 minutes of this scene."
Yes, yeah. Alex is like, "You've been a snake to Ramona." And Luann is like, "I am with my guests. Go back to that cabinet that you came out of." And then she walks away and she goes, "Witch."
Yeah. Calls her a witch, which she restates later that Alex reminded her of a witch or Dracula.
It was giving a beast. How dare you?
Totally.
Witch.
And I also yes, and I also loved when she when Alex tries to say that Luann has not been good to them. She goes, "I have been nothing but kind and gracious to you. You need to leave now." And I just love that in Luann's eyes, like as the hostess, she has done everything perfectly, and she has, because she doesn't want to even give any light to this fake Alex shit that she's drudging up right now on behalf of Ramona. So I love that part of it too. And just how Luann is just completely in control of the scene the entire time is iconic to me.
Yeah. So then she storms off. Then we get Kelly versus Alex. Alex is like trying to explain herself. Kelly's just saying she's weird and to stop and blah, blah, blah. And Alex goes, "Can I speak?" And Kelly goes, "No, you can't. This is a trip of a lifetime. People don't take trips like this." Kelly runs off. She's like, "Oh, don't come down here in your Afghan or whatever that was. My tattoo is ruined. Who's going to fix this? Santa?"
Yeah. Yeah, that's kind of that's the sort of ravings of Scary Island a little bit. Where,
Al Sharpton.
Yeah, where she uses weird references and she's kind of unhinged a little bit. She goes, stupid, she's an idiot, and I'm like, oh my god, Kelly, what the hell's going on? You ruined my tattoo. She really treats Alex like trash in this scene, and also she starts to direct Alex again, and it reminded me of Scary Island, which is so wild how many parallels there are. She starts to direct Alex just like she was directing her on the beach when she goes, smile more, let yourself loose, you're a lion, baby, let your lion out, tilt your head back. It was exactly like this. She goes, Alex is still got her, like, still has this actor persona up where she wants to justify why she had such a shitty entrance and how this is actually true to her feelings, but Kelly won't give her 1 second to listen to her. She's like, come on, close your eyes for a second while you say it. And Alex goes, shh, well, wait, I'm trying to talk right now. And she goes, just close your eyes. And she goes, okay.
Like, shh. And then she goes, cover your shoulders. We're in Marrakesh.
Yeah, and Alex is just trying to get out her thoughts of trying to justify herself, and Kelly's just shutting her down every single second. Close your eyes, and then Alex goes, fine, I'll close my eyes. She goes, okay, now open them, and she goes, no, I'm going to keep my eyes closed. And it's just like Alex can't say one thing, and then Alex says, I am just so angry. This is true. These are my true feelings, which no one believes. No one believes that this is real. And she goes, you're not angry. You're sad. Don't say angry again. You're sad. You're sad, sad, sad. You're one of the saddest person. You're weird and you're sad. And it's like, that energy with Alex is the one of the wildest things I've ever seen in my life. I've never seen somebody treat somebody else like that in my life.
It's insane. Then meanwhile, Frick and Frack are like running around. They're like, let's go find our custom caftans. And they're like,
and this makes it so much funnier too that Alex is there spending her life's energy to make this scene happen on behalf of Ramona because Ramona is so upset. And then you get Ramona just giggling around.
Ramona's literally jumping around. Like, she tries on the caftan, she jumps like a star. Yeah. Like, she's like, hee 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 hee.
This meant nothing to Ramona. Ramona does this in her sleep, has confrontations like that with Jill. She didn't give a shit about that thing. So Alex is just left defending Ramona when Ramona couldn't give a shit about her. They both secretly don't give a shit about Alex either. She is such the odd person out in that group. They just love that she's just doing anything for them as like a soldier for them, but she'll never be in the inner sanctum of Sonia and Ramona, and they treat her, she's just, they're not a personality fit no matter what they went through with Scary Island. Alex would have been so much better on the other side, but she loves being on the Ramona Sonia side.
No, it's very strange that she ends up there. So then we get Luann is trying to get everyone in place for dinner, but the only ones there are Jill and Cindy. And she's like, oh, apparently the staff told me that Ramona, Alex, and Sonia told the staff to bring food up to their room. So I don't know what that's about. So she's furious about that they, again, went behind her back to do that.
And this would be like maybe the 5th time that that they have not been a part of Luann's trip. So Luann is pissed off as you could be. I have to say, though, I really think that the dinner alarm, the bell, whoever was supposed to say 8 p.m., the way Sonia reacts, the way Ramona reacts, the way Alex reacts, I don't think that they knew that dinner was happening at 8. No. And I do believe then that they just had a bunch of snacks delivered to their room. Yeah.
So Ramona provides the evidence.
Yes. But again, just like Cindy, Luann is carrying all of the grievances that have happened up to this point. And so she's at her wit's end, even though unfortunately she might have been in the wrong. It's still rude. They come in going like, well, I don't know if we have to get, Alex comes in first, but before that, this is when Luann, when she hates someone, like she's so fucking amazing at just treating them like dog shit. Like when she hates Carol Radswell, I remember at my show where I saw she goes, I'll hate Carol till the day I die, Ratsville. And I've never been able to shake her saying Ratsville about Carol in my life the way she said it with pure disdain. And that's how she's on Luann, or Alex. Alex is now like an enemy, and she goes, I don't know what the fuck was going on. She had completely dark energy. It reminded me of Dracula. She was like a witch using all the
Kelly
same.
Goes, And the subtitle said imitating Bela Lugosi. And I was like, okay, subtitles king, was like credit where credit is due that our Hungarian king invented that voice.
Totally. One of the main Dracula voices you can hear in your head is Bela Lugosi's characteristic laugh as Dracula. Alex joins. It's not very fun. Alex just goes, sorry, I didn't hear the dinner bell. And Luann is kind of treating Alex like shit at this point. Yeah. She's blaming her for missing the meal, and also talking about how Alex started it at the henna station thing. I'm not going to treat you very well after you did that to me. And the vibe is just completely off, so Alex decides to take her meal and leave at that point, because it's just not, they're not receptive
is being very hostile. So then Kelly like pushes Alex out the door because she keeps trying to go back and forth, and Kelly's like, go, leave. And then after all that, you're like, okay, that's finally done. And then Ramona and Sonia just waltz in and they go, what's for dinner? And you're like, oh my God, like they don't even know how much drama is awaiting them right now. And Luann goes, what do you mean dinner? You're late. Dinner is done.
Yes. Yeah, kind of like she's still in host mode, but she's like, you have now broken a cardinal rule of hosting, and so now I tell you that dinner is no longer available. You know, still keeping that persona up a little bit.
She's like, I heard you had dinner brought up to your room already. And Ramona goes, that was a snack, darling, a 5 o'clock snack. And she's like, I arranged for snacks, because she insults her as a host. She goes, the host didn't arrange for snacks, so I graciously arranged for snacks. And Luann's like, there were snacks in the library.
Yeah, she goes, there were snacks provided. And this is when, like you said, Ramona just starts making fun of Luann's voice to her face, calling her darling.
This is iconic. This is an earworm too. Luann snaps and she goes, this is not the Plaza Hotel. This is Morocco.
Yes, I love that. She goes, you can't just get round-the-clock dining service here. We have a regimented schedule.
This is not the Plaza Hotel. This is Morocco.
Yeah, and it's that's supposed to explain, I guess, why they need to be more, receptive to when they can be offered food. This is a moment where I don't really appreciate Luann, to be honest, because Ramona tries to get back in Luann's good graces. Kelly goes, Kelly says, apologize to her. Ramona goes and grabs her, and then they immediately are able to get over this pretty quickly, because Ramona proves, that it was just snacks. But then Luann says what she had been trying to say to Ramona the entire time, which is why Alex got offended, because Luann wanted to have a private conversation with Ramona, and everyone was guarding Ramona from having that conversation. And then I was like, well, that was lame to treat Luann like that. She's the host of this trip. You don't need to be divided. But then when Luann does get her moment, she just tries to bring up the Mario cheating rumors. And I was like, Luann, no, you should have just done something like, I don't know, anything else. But Ramona knows, like, oh man, like it was almost right for Alex to guard Luann from having a one-on-one, if you can think about it from Ramona's point of view, because she immediately goes, I'm here for you. I know those cheating rumors must have really upset you, and I'm here for you. And then Ramona goes, what's for dinner? What's for dinner?
My marriage is great. She's basically like, Luann's trying to hold onto her arm, and Ramona's trying to break away, because she's like, I'm not talking about that. I'm not talking about that.
Yeah, it's a fourth wall break. Ramona's like, I don't want to just say stop filming now, but you were not talking about my marriage. I cannot believe that is what you wanted to do. And then she goes, I don't believe for one fucking second that Luann cares about my marriage. She wanted to fuck my husband. She's the last person I would ever think would care about marriage. And I don't believe that Luann is rooting for her downfall, but I believe that this sympathy towards Ramona is not genuine. Those are the two
ill-placed, to bring that up at that time.
It was a bummer. Actually, Luann, who has, I would give her 100%, perfection this entire trip. The one ding I would give her is that I wish that you would have said something else to Ramona. So, that's down to, a 90%. We're really at the end.
Yes.
Towards the end, right?
The final morning, Kelly is like, I'm going on a jog, which I'm like, you literally put an Afghan on Alex's shoulders last night and was like, we're in Morocco, you need to cover your shoulders. But then the next morning she goes jogging in tiny bike shorts and a sports bra out on the streets, not in the Riyadh, in public.
I didn't even think about it like that. I forgot, because
they've all been worried about what to wear the entire time, and she wears the skimpiest. I'd be self-conscious to wear that in New York City.
I really didn't even think about that. I don't know why. And then she even told Alex to put a shawl on her shoulders when they were just at the Riyadh in their own house. Yeah. Oh my God. I didn't even think about that. They spend the entire day packing, right? Oh no, I'm sorry. Well, yeah, actually, there was so much a momentous fight when Jill and Ramona went head to head that second night. But then now, kind of, Jill comes hat in hand a little bit into Ramona's room, right?
Yeah.
And this is when it kind of gets diffused instantly. They kind of couldn't have the energy anymore, and they both knew that they cared about each other enough that's why they were so upset. So it's kind of like they did all of the work in that previous conversation fight, and then they were able to have in maybe 3 or 4 minutes some resolution here, just knowing that they care about each other and their friendship.
They're like, let's not rehash it. Let's just hug and say in the future we'll tell each other if something bothers us, which, well, Jill will be gone soon, so I'm sure there's more drama that I don't remember that happens. But it also, then it cuts to boys' night in New York City. It's Mario, Simon, who else is there?
A random guy. One of the worst scenes in Bravo history. It is so bad. The guys on this show are so... Well, okay, wait, sorry. Simon is iconic. But Mario is such dead weight. He's not entertaining at all. That it's him and Simon playing pool at this place called... Pool, I don't know what it was called, and then some random friend, and they're with the guy's girlfriend or something, and they're pretending like Mario is flirting with him, and Mario goes, hopefully my wife never comes back from Morocco, and it like doesn't have any of that fun lilt to it that you would ever think it's a joke. It just sounds like a shitty husband. And then Simon goes, I'm going to take a photo of you with that girl over there, and I'm going to send it to Ramona right now to imply that you're cheating, probably. And then that's it. The scene just ends. It's like they wanted that iconic like guys like on Jersey, where when all of the cast members are away on a trip, you get the guys together and they have fun. This is like the worst version of that in history.
Yeah, Simon like BlackBerry sends a picture of Mario with that girl playing pool to Ramona, and it's just kind of weird. I was like, what is your intention? They just
have horrible energy, horrible chemistry. They were Mario specifically should have never had a camera pointed in his face in his entire life. Okay, they spend the day packing. I'm gonna get us to the end of this, and then we'll talk about the iconic Herman Munster. So they spend the whole day packing, and there's not a lot this day. I think that they were like so tired. 6 hours of just the day was dedicated to packing. They have a flight the next morning. So then they kind of just go to a dinner in their caftans, which was kind of like a perfect arc for it to start out with that first night of the person, the designer making those caftans, and then them all wear them out to dinner. I was like, wow, this is like a nice bookend for the scene. And they talk about their favorite moments, and we shared some of them already.
Yes.
Kelly does say that her favorite moment of the entire trip was when she was jogging in her bra and her shorts, and she said a woman said "sante" to her, which means good health, and that was her favorite. So her favorite moment happened like right at the very end of the trip.
She tried to make it seem like it was this like wonderful, like spiritual moment where she connected with a local in a small village.
Yes, totally. Like that was the most meaningful thing to her. That made it the trip of a lifetime. And then Luann goes, my favorite thing was Ya Habibi. How much do you all love Ya Habibi? And it's like, oh my God, that struck a chord with Luann like nothing else.
I know, she's obsessed. And it like, I think it like literally like the camera goes from them to the sky and you just hear Ya Habibi.
It is so funny that is just still a part of Luann's, canon overall. Oh, yeah. It's like amazing. Ya Habibi, we got this trip. And that's, we'll talk about the next scene, but that really concludes the Morocco trip. I mean, it was really, there's no like huge explosive moments like Scary Island, but just the whole thing is just consistently entertaining throughout, and there's so much going on. Like the Sonia aspect, you could just watch for that and watch Sonia be drunk and spiral out. The Ramona and Alex stuff is so funny. Like the Jill and Ramona stuff is like decent, pretty good, and then it's just like, I don't know, there was just so much to enjoy about this trip. I'm so glad that we recapped it. I was like, it was so fun,
iconic. So the following episode, they're back in New York. It's immediately Ramona seducing Mario, and she tells him about the fortune teller, and he goes, the only other woman in my life is Avery. And she goes, that's exactly what I said. And I'm like, wow. Okay, let him off the hook. And he looks a little freaked out. But she's like, this is the scene I always remember where she like puts oil on his feet and is like rubbing his feet and giving him a back rub, and it's like kind of depressing.
Is that the one? Is that the one where she kind of rides him a little bit?
I think so. Yeah,
yeah.
I was like scrubbing through it because I was like, this. We really only were going to talk about Herman Munster, so it's not until like the very end of the episode where Luann and Alex get together at this restaurant.
I do want to say about that scene because maybe I don't know when we'll ever talk about it again. But top 3 most sort of embarrassing sexual related moments with a partner. We got Tamra and Eddie in the bathtub.
Yes.
We have that Ramona moment, and then
paint.
number 1. Oh, you read my mind. Justin and Whitney doing sex where their bodies, once they're in coitus, will make a painting together. That is the number 1 most embarrassing sexual scene with a partner in history.
There's also an early Miami one where Joanna and her fiance are in sex therapy, and they make them go on a date where they're role playing, and it's horrible.
It's so funny. It's amazing. I love that stuff. I love that Joanna and Romaine were trying to pretend that was like their good era of their relationship, and he puts on glasses, and she just becomes she becomes even like worse to him than she ever was. She reverts this character
so bad,
and he's like, "This is exactly why I don't want to have sex with you, and you chose a character who's
She's
even
like, you're
more
a little
off."
pussy bitch.
She goes, I'm gonna be vulgar. She goes, "Fuck me now," and he's like, "Oh my god, this is what I wanted to stray away from. I wanted romance." I love that shit so much. I hope someday we will, I don't know, figure out how to recap Miami someday. But that's so funny. That definitely belongs in there because then they don't even have sex. They're so defeated in the moment.
It was a flop.
Okay, so this scene is so great. I'm glad we're ending it because again, Luann has all the same power that she had at the henna station, and Alex again is just ill-equipped to go toe-to-toe with Luann. It is like just fucking hands down a knockout punch for Luann this entire time. It's amazing.
Yeah,
it's incredible. Like Luann versus Alex is like some of the best conflict I've ever seen, just because you can see how adept Luann is at it.
Yeah. They go to this restaurant in the meatpacking district, and Alex is like, "Oh, I love this place. Have you been here before?" And Luann's like, "I've never been here before, but actually, it's my friend who owns it." Like, she's like, "I win."
Perfect. Yes, perfect. And going into this scene, this is the perfect conflict because both of them have thought about this and then doubled down on their viewpoints. And I, as a viewer and as the audience, believe that Luann was right in every single way to treat Alex how she did, in every way, even calling her a witch. Everything about what Alex did seems fake, inauthentic, lame, and poor strategic planning to me. And Luann delivered some of the most iconic Housewives moments in history.
Yeah.
But then for some reason Alex thinks that Luann treated her like shit by calling her a buffalo bopping down the stairs and a witch and Dracula and all that shit, which I'm like, it's very surprising to me that Alex thought that she now even feels more in the right, that she needs to go and tell Luann, and that's why they have a complete difference of opinions about what happened right at the start. It never is good, this conversation.
Yes. Alex just is not an alpha, so it always fails. Luann says right up front, she's like, "Well, when you were barreling down the stairs, that was quite embarrassing, to tell you the truth." And you're like, "Oh God, like that's how it's gonna go." And Alex tries to start it out with like, "We've never been the closest of friends. We've just been sort of like cordial, like acquaintances. But if we were to be real friends, we would say what's actually bothering us." And Luann like will not let her get a word in edgewise this whole time. And one thing Alex does say was like, "The way you talked to me in Morocco was condescending, haughty, dismissive, and frankly vile."
Yeah, we got a huge vile.
I'm like, I should use vile more.
Oh, I say it all the time. It's like it's one of the to me one of the most ridiculously overused words for behavior. Like vile should be like retained for like the worst instances in all of humanity.
I'm a little sad that savage got ruined, because I remember when it first started being used, I was like, that's a great word. Like
all words get ruined.
I know. Like when it was used like over the top at the beginning of it entering the culture, I was like, that's so funny to say that something was savage, and now it just means nothing.
Yeah, no, and it sucks because it makes you feel lame for even like ever saying that word again. So these words get a different connotation, they get completely overused, and then they just get left in the dustbin for 5 years. It's like, it's a bummer. Like I'll never say the word cringe again in my life. I never liked it, but then I have to stop myself from ever saying it because I hate that word, but then it becomes like a singular word that you have to use,
Right.
At a certain point.
Yeah.
Anyway,
why,
vile.
Not to mention beast again, but that's why it just punched through the airwaves, because you're like, when's the last time you heard someone call someone a beast?
And we don't use it very often now. It needs to it could pop back up and be used. I feel like it's been dormant. Ooh, yeah, that's rough. Just calling someone a beast, that's been dormant for too long. Yeah, and then Luann is like, then that's kind of like gloves her off when she calls her vile. Luann is so dismissive and rude to Alex at this point. They start fighting or whatever, and Alex said, I just put the brakes on in Morocco, which I have no fucking clue what I was talking about. It's like Alex just put a ball up in the air, the easiest lob in history, and Luann goes, you put the brakes on? I'd call it a breakdown, bitch, basically. And it's like, oh, the perfect fucking retort back. It was amazing.
Yeah. She's like, I think you had a few too many Pinot Grigios with Ramona, and she goes, don't you dare go there.
Yeah,
and why not?
And I also believe that Alex wrote all this shit down, haughty, dismissive, vile, and I really don't believe that Luann wrote any of this shit down. It just seems like it's fucking coming to her, and she's almost delighted that she gets to say this shit in the moment.
Yes. Yeah, she's like, you are the one who tried to bully me in my salon, having a wonderful henna tattoo.
Yeah.
You came and aggressed me in front of my guests.
Yeah, no, yeah, so amazing. Then Alex is sort of again on her back foot, and then she goes, "You came after me in the house. I was having a nice time with the ladies, and then you came down in your Herman Munster shoes." And then that is when Alex is taken aback, and you really see her go, "Think about it." She goes, those are Louis Vuitton shoes. And then that's when, the most iconic line in history gets uttered.
Yes. Well, even Louis Vuitton makes mistakes, which, again, at her concert in 2025, she said at least 3 times.
Yeah, she has so many catchphrases when you think about it. Now, this is such an amazing one. And then Alex just has to laugh because it might be the wittiest thing she's ever heard in her life. And then all she can say is, oh, wow, that is so rude. But it's like she knows that was one of the most creative lines ever uttered. Also, when she says Herman Munster shoes, I never thought about it again. But, she's calling her a monster again, just like Dracula and Witch. Now she's calling her, Frankenstein, right? Because Herman Munster is a Frankenstein. So it's another monster to call those shoes. Anyway, probably the best retort in history.
Yeah.
Those are Louis Vuitton shoes. Well, even Louis Vuitton makes mistakes. Luann didn't care if she insulted Louis Vuitton in that moment at all. She was like, I am getting this thing off, and I don't care.
Yeah.
Louis Vuitton be damned.
Yeah.
And then Alex said, I thought that you would apologize. Luann goes, why the fuck would I ever apologize to you? In nicer words than that. She goes, you should have never been defending Ramona. Ramona's a big girl. She can fucking speak for herself, which is that's like the through line for this entire thing. Alex, what were you thinking? And then Luann goes, don't take this literally, but remember what happens to the messenger. Get a life.
And she leaves.
Yeah, and I was just like, oh my God, don't take this literally, but don't forget what happens to the messenger.
Death threat.
Kill the messenger. And she has to say, don't take this literally, like I'm not threatening to kill you. It is like,
that
oh my
I think
God.
she came prepared for because she kind of says it at the beginning. She
Yeah.
goes like, you know what happens to the messenger. And then she was like, I'm going to zinger it at the end and make it clear.
Whatever she did to deliver that Shakespearean side of a conversation, even if she wrote some of it and then came up with some of that in the spot, it is amazing. It's round 2 of the henna salon confrontation, and it's it's amazing. I don't know where this ranks for you because Scary Island is always considered probably number 1, and then we did Amsterdam, which I remember being like that was good, but there was a lot of filler in that one.
Cartagena is great. We haven't covered that yet, but we will one day.
Cartagena is one of the most fun, I want to put it. I have to justify this one more because when we did our poll for Villa Rosa VIPs, Jersey gets dog shit. This Miraval trip that I love, but I have to justify it. One of our patrons said an amazing thing, which is exactly why I love it. It's like the first time ever that this person like gets to the root of all of these like deep-seated issues with them, and it actually has so much stuff going on. It's one of the most psychologically interesting trips in history. So hopefully someday, if that gets voted, I want to do that. But I would put Amsterdam. I don't even think I know that there are so many more trips more iconic than that. Scary Island is still in the top 3, but for me, Morocco bumps the shit out of Amsterdam so far. And then what other trips are we even debating in the future? What was our third?
Our third
option?
was Ireland, OC, which partially was because I, as of this recording, will be in Ireland, so I thought it was relevant. But I mean, Tamra's breakdown on the bus where she's like, "Fuck yeah!"
of
like
course.
that's iconic. And then I would also say, I don't know how iconic the actual trip is, but Iceland when Vicky comes down with a sheet over her is like really great.
I want to do Turtle Time trip for every trip, and obviously we'll start to do bad trips, but I want to make sure that we're properly assessing like the top 5 in history. So if you all this is going out in the main feed. So if Little Turtle Cuties want to also recommend trips that you think that would be so fun to recap, let us know. And then obviously we'll probably have a vote again on Patreon, for our Villa Rosa VIPs to choose. But I'm so glad that we got to do a Turtle Time trip. We haven't done one in like a year.
Yeah.
So I didn't know what we normally did or what they are. But it was good to do it again. And it's so fun to just pop into these franchises that we'll never get a chance to recap. Most
really
likely.
Fun to revisit. And I feel like I think you should do an outro of that little song again because I want to hear it at the end.
Oh my gosh, that is one of the nicest compliments I've ever received. I want to say I think that the Miami one in season 6, which you might be getting to, also needs to be considered as a top tier one because almost everything in the world happens on that trip. But but anyway, all right, we are going to say goodbye. 2 hours and 7 minutes, a little longer, but we're going to say goodbye. I hope you enjoyed this Turtle Time trip. I hope that you felt like you were in Marrakesh with Amy and I and the cast members of RHONY. Goodbye.
Yeah, Habibi.
It's Turtle Time trip. We're going to recap a trip. A housewives trip. So pack your bags.